EOS Go presents EOS Radio, your first source for everything about the new blockchain Internet of Value. You'll hear from key contributors to EOS, including interviews with Block.one, dapp development teams, and block producers. You'll get community updates and answers to common questions, meetup information, opportunities to get involved in EOS, and much more. We're live every Monday at 6 p.m. EST, and now it's time for your hosts, Kev and Blue Jays, in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome everybody. It's April 16th. How was your weekend, Kev?
Good morning, afternoon, Blue Jays. Where are we at here? Evening. So yeah, good. Episode 8. Here we are, EOS Radio. Thank you guys for joining us as always.
Yeah.
I love your shirt today, there, Blue Jays. That's beautiful.
I'm in Florida, man. What can I say?
Hawaii or Florida?
It's all the same to me.
Okay. Yeah, we have a whopper of a show. Of course, leading up to launch, we have so many requests for interviews, and we're always happy to grant them as much as we can, just to help everybody get their word out. But today we have EOS Canada on the line. They're coming up shortly. And then we also have a special announcement from Sweden. I don't know if the folks have figured it out by now, but we have Ivan on Tech is coming on to do a special announcement along with Eric, who we all know from the community. He's one of the block producer candidates. And also VAHID. They're going to talk about their Stockholm meetup as well. So it's going to be exciting. And then after that, we have ONO social network coming on. They just launched. They had a huge launch in China. They've been very successful. And then last but not least, Thomas Cox is coming on. So, yeah, what are your thoughts there, Blue Jays? I know we have to bring EOS Canada in here shortly, but
yeah, it's a jam-packed show. Welcome, guys. Like Kevin said, we're heading up to launch here, and it's exciting times, man. This is going to be, less than 2 months away. So, good times, great times, and let's hear out from all these people who are excited about EOS.
You got that right. Yeah, so when we talk about the launch itself, we talk about the BIOS boot process, which EOS Canada will have a lot more information about that. And they're actually helping to build the software that will launch the blockchains themselves. Of course, Block One, they're not launching the blockchains. And so therefore we need a community initiative to step up and actually create the software and then help organize everybody towards that direction. So Of course, here we go.
So while we're waiting for them to log in, I just might comment on that, Kevin. It's like, yeah, this is the software is released. What do we do with it? It all has to be coordinated. I take back to the original quote that you made, we're being handed the keys to a rocket ship. So this is how to turn it all on, You got to turn this on. You got to turn this dial. You got to push this button, set this breaker, and all this stuff, and then finally hit the go button. And that's what we're doing, right? And this is what EOS Canada is going to come on and talk about.
Yeah, I can't wait. And they're a new block producer candidate. They just released their information. And so they put out their introduction post was great. They have a very powerful team up there in Canada, in Montreal area.
Okay.
So, and of course, we have some news later on to cover as well. We'll be talking about Thomas Cox released the second draft of the Constitution that from EOS.io Constitution. And so we will go over that. I'm sure we'll bring it up with Thomas when he's on the line as well. We also need to talk about Block One is doing a AskBlockone series, where they're taking questions every Wednesday, I believe it is, when you do a hashtag. Here comes EOS Canada on their way. We'll talk more about AskBlockone later as EOS Canada comes in here. Here's Alexander Bourget. Here's Matthew. And Mark, as he prefers to go by. And then Josh, of course. The whole team, here they come.
Welcome,
Alexander.
guys.
Welcome, yeah.
Hello. Thank you so much, guys. I actually prefer going by Marc-Antoine, but I think it's a little bit more difficult, so Mark will be fine.
Okay, sounds good. Marc-Antoine? Yeah, sounds good.
Hey,
I think my French is a little rough around the edges, so thank you for making it easier on us here. But yeah, welcome. Thank you guys for coming. Alexander, you look very dark over there. We can't quite see you with your camera.
You can't?
No.
Oh, there you go.
Now you are. You came in sharp all of a sudden.
Okay.
Welcome, guys.
So, go ahead there, Blue Jays.
So, welcome. The format we normally use for this show is the who, what, why, when, and where. Mm-hmm. And we definitely want to go around the block, around the circle here, and see. Let's answer the who question. Just get to know you guys a little bit more and why you want to run for block producer.
For sure.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. So my name is Marc-Antoine. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I like building businesses. I like building teams. I've had a few successes in the past. The last one is a password box, an identity company I built and sold to Intel in 2014. And since then, I've been putting my hands in building more teams and applying, what I love doing to passionate individuals. So that's about me.
Oh, great. Thanks, Marc-Antoine.
I can go next. So Alexander, I've been coding since I was 12, and I've studied classical piano. I did free software for many years. And in 2013, I jumped in the Bitcoin bandwagon, and I started a Bitcoin payment processing company. I remember being at Inside Bitcoin's Las Vegas 2013, and I was on a panel with Dan Larimer. It just happens we were four there, and we were talking about innovation in Bitcoin and whatever. And he was so far away. Dan, he was talking about distributed organizations and all that. I was like, mind blown, right? I was talking about like, oh, you can do payments with Bitcoin for 3 years already. And so it was very interesting. And then I continued on and did a few other things and joined Mark at Password Box. So when we acquired Intel Security, and then we were leading a data science team over there, building things. So like builder at the core. And now jumped at Diagram, or we're building ventures. And this one, EOS, is one of the most awesome play I've ever had, the chance to play with. So we're diving into that now.
Good. Mathieu, come from the financial industry, so a bit of a different background than those guys. I was in investment banking for 7 years, doing your typical mergers and acquisitions, public and private equity and debt offerings. So I've done that for 7 years, and then decided to jump ship in December last year. Met those guys and decided to join, and I've been full-time as part of EOS Canada for a few months now.
Lastly, I'm Josh. I joined these guys a few weeks back now. I've been studying the blockchain for a couple of years, and it's just been a passion of mine. Basically, I'm a jack of all trades. I've done a bunch of different things, restaurants, construction, but blockchain, as soon as I discovered it, that's just been my hobby, and sinking all my time into that. Linked up with these guys, and my goal and my role is going to be to figure out what these guys are building. So these guys are heavy tech guys, and make everyone else care about what they're doing. These guys know how to get stuff done.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for that. It's good to hear a little bit about you. So looking forward here, so we've talked a little bit before you came on about how you're building the software to help launch this so-called rocket ship. So let's hear more about the what of you guys. What have you been building, and what's coming up here?
Yeah, so, as a team, we've been exploring different things for quite a bit of time, and we really got excited as we started, reading more about EOS. Alexander has been actually, following everything blockchain and EOS for quite a while. And he shared this passion with us, and we realized that what we absolutely love doing, which is enabling developers, entrepreneurs, and businesses build stuff. We were pretty good at it, and we realized that we had some room to become a hub to help everyone else in the ecosystem do more and do faster and do better. And this is where I think we are excited about this opportunity where we can lead with technology, basically help everyone else achieve their goals and make everything a little bit smoother. So this is why I think you can understand how rapidly we started working on the BIOS boot, because we saw a lot of challenges around that piece of software, and we wanted to help the community organize itself. So we want to do that not only for block producers, but for also developers and businesses that will need to leverage EOS ecosystem.
Oh, great. Hey, guys, so that sounds like great backgrounds and everything, and you guys obviously want to help the ecosystem. What kind of projects are you guys going to release? I know you guys had talked about the boot process, and and that's just something that's really confusing for people because they think that EOS is going to be launched, and it's a foregone conclusion, and it's not. It is a community effort, and there is going to be a set of steps that need to be taken by the community to launch it. We have the keys. We just need to start it up and know all the buttons to push. And can you tell us a little bit about how you guys have been developing that stuff?
Right. So when we jumped into that, and I remember Thomas Cox's first post about the BIOS boot, right, where he devised a sort of algorithm, high-level algorithm as to how that could be launched. And then I scored around, I checked like who implemented that, because this is nice, but it needs to run, it needs to be executed, right? So I saw an opportunity to jump in building that. And then as I was building it, I was making sure that nothing other like that existed. And I didn't find anything. And at some point, I also got put in touch with some folks at BlockOne, asked them like, are you guys building that? And so Thomas put me in touch with Dinesh. And we had a call just the other day with a few guys on I don't know if you guys are on the EOS.io boot channel. There's a Telegram channel there. So we had an open conversation with some of you guys joined, where Dinesh reviewed, and we had made sure that all the steps we're building there make sense for launching a network, like according to what people think. So he said it was complete, and we're going to be missing just a few bits that are coming to be released as we go. And so this thing will like inject all the system contracts, all the contracts we need for the system to run. Like, for example, the votes, they're in a system contract. They're not part of the blockchain. So they can be evolved and rolled out as we go without a hard fork. So there's that aspect. And then we want to honor the snapshot. So we need to find a way to make sure that these balances, all the people who have put money in the ERC20 on Ethereum, the contract over there, that their cash is honored on the new chain when it's frozen on June 1st. So we need to make sure that process is done by someone, because it needs to be bootstrapped. It's a bootstrapping issue, right? What we're building is an orchestration tool to make sure this works across the world in a community of block producers that are competing with each other, yet they're as a community building something together. That's why I find it's fascinating, and orchestrating that is really interesting. So we need that person to inject all these balances and honor the people who have contributed to the raise of capital there, and also other people around to verify that this has been properly done, so that we launch the chain, everyone trusts it because it's been verified by code, by people, and by a community of people that are trusted also. Because, the block producers are semi-trusted entities, right? We're building a decentralized system, but we're putting trust in these VPs who have a lot of power in the end. Maybe we can list some of these things afterwards, but yeah. So that's the bulk of we published a video on going through the different steps and what people that want to launch a network using those set of tools, what they'll need to understand, how the automation can work, how the communication will work. And, so we posted on our channel, on the YouTube channel, and we go through the whole repost, 19 minutes, but I think it's very well invested time for BPs who would like to understand how to launch. So we ran through that with a few of the BPs that tried it, and we've sorted out a couple of kinks and bugs, and now it's going to be more and more useful that anyone wanting to join a mainnet using that tool can start soon. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, sort of. And we have a interesting comment in the chat here from NS James. He says they're colluding. Get them. So I don't know if he's being serious about that, but we're not. We think you guys are doing a fantastic job. Just coordinating it. What are some of the things that can go wrong?
Oh, man. In general, or just at the boot time? So I see a few things. What could go wrong is that the channels of communication are disrupted. The nodes are not capable of sustaining DDoS attacks. So right now, we're planning on having 50 block producers in the list, right, at minimum. And hopefully everyone is able to join in. But we need to make sure that when we're shuffling that, because we don't want to choose and pick one team that's going to be the initial block producer, right, that EOS.io system account that gets provisioned when you boot a new chain that doesn't exist. That's the design of the Node EOS daemon. So we want to make sure that when that happens, the team that is chosen at random based on that Bitcoin thing. You can take a look at the other videos that tells us how we shuffle things automatically and deterministically. Well, that first person needs to be able to execute. And so there's a risk there that maybe someone has not rehearsed well, right? And that's why I think there's going to be some alliances. We're going to build a launch file with block producers that have rehearsed, have tried the tool, have proven that they can run these things without breaking in the middle, that their system can sustain a DDoS. So this all needs to be tested. So that's one risk. Now, I was thinking maybe we can put a flag in the producers there that people have gone through those extensive tests. And we know they're like all the community together says, yeah, we trust that if they're selected as the boot node, they're going to sustain DDoS and they can be smashed and it will go through. And then perhaps some that are flagged to be okay for being the 21 pointed block producers that could shuffle. I'm just throwing new ideas here because it's just possibilities, but that's a risk. Another risk is like, I don't know, some people mismanage their private keys as a block producer and it's been stolen beforehand. So someone just hooks into the network and start like putting trash in there or fiddling with the initial block producers. Risks of there's a few risks, but let's limit it at that. We can list some more risks on another video.
That's a good list, and I think the computer community would probably benefit from a list of those published somewhere.
Yeah. We plan on releasing videos that go through what we've identified by doing threat modeling. So we have some security folks taking the software, analyzing the source code, and seeing what are the risks for, external factors on boot, but also after boot, notably the VM there, if keys are compromised. So one risk, let me add one last risk, because I think it's very important, is the security risk. To me, BPs are, they're custodians of the whole network. Management of their keys is primordial, right? And I see a risk if block producers do not provide multi-sig on their owner account and active account, because this can determine like the block signing key. And with the block signing key, you can inject transactions, you can freeze account. And like if that's taken from too many BPs, because we have mismanager keys, this can lead to a network takeover, like a legitimate network takeover by rogue parties. Legitimate because it's not going to be seen. Like we're just going to lose access to it. And so we don't want that. But we'll probably elaborate on that on some other videos.
Yeah, I mean, your videos that have come out so far have been really informative, and your energy is contagious, especially in the first video we saw, and of course even now. So, yeah, I met you in Blacksburg. So people have just seen that video, Dan's video that came out, the introduction to blockchain in Virginia Tech. Yeah, I met a couple of you guys, and you're obviously very bright. So it was interesting talking to you. And
thank you.
Nice to finally meet all you. And then how about so Josh and Matthew? People are not as familiar now with everybody else on the team. What should we know about you guys as well?
So maybe you guys have seen the model that I had done for modeling the inflation of the system. So that's one of the first things that we probably released to the community maybe a few weeks ago. And so we had taken Thomas, like really good model that he had done that was explaining how the inflation would affect the system, and we decided, so I worked in investment banking for so many years, and I've been doing models, day and night, and I figured I might as well, make it a bit nicer and make it a bit more useful, and we'd be able to run a few scenarios on it. So I believe it's still online if you guys want to play around with it. We'll probably be releasing a new versions in a few weeks, modeling a few other scenarios of voting.
Yeah, and also for me, what I'm working on, good job, Alex. What I'm working on is creating a lot of content. I think there's going to be a huge need to educate people. How do they adopt it? How do they integrate EOS into their lives? And they need to understand it. It took me a few months to wrap my head around blockchain, and I'm sure it's going to take a lot of people a few months as well. So I'm trying to drive that education, and I'm trying to link up with other DPs across the world. So link up with Chinese candidates, Korean candidates. And so if the content that we're creating is valuable, I want to make sure that it's not valuable to just the English-speaking community. I want to make sure it gets spread around globally so that we can make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Nice. Yeah, and I would love to make sure we talk about something that I found unique about your guys' post. Your introduction post talked about security, the importance of security, and also the steps you guys are starting to take as a block producer candidate. Can you guys dive more into that for us?
So the first thing we hit as a risk, and that's when doing that threat modeling, is to having the signing keys on the same server. One thing I just saw that could just burst out, like there's no VM ever on Earth that was bug free. And when we're talking about the WASM VM that we have in Node EOS there, it's a virtual machine and it can have bugs. I know it's being stress tested. We have 2 versions in there. We're flip-flopping to test different implementations there. But if there was a leaking bug, like something that would give you access to the external process, the actual Node EOS process, well, and you could do remote code execution, and that would run on all the nodes throughout the world as per the design of a blockchain, right? You send a transaction, and that would be run in the memory of the process, and it could burst out of the sandbox. And potentially for BPs, at least, if we had signing keys in that same process, they could be exfiltrated through, the output of a transaction, I don't know what. Like someone could compromise the whole network at the same second, right? So we've been working to see how we could, well, Dan is aware of that. He's going to certainly roll out a few things for us to sign things outside of the process. So we'll review our security layout there together with the community. We want to show what we've built, but we'll have some special signing zone for that to be a network call. So we have like 3 nodes that are going to do just signing of the blocks. And if someone compromises the sandbox, well, at least the keys will not exfiltrate, and we would be protected of such an attack. Now, that's one attack, but security-wise, there's one thing I think, and I put that in the EOS bias because I think it's critical. We were designing, when we're going to do our key ceremony, like François Prou, the guy who was on the security team, he's a great Jack. He was working with us at Intel Security and created the key ceremony. It's very fascinating. You have those people having roles in the key ceremony. Okay, I copied that key there and there, and on my laptop, your laptop, the UB key things and whatever. And so, when that happens and people start up putting their 3 keys, let's assume we have a simple multi-sig keys for the block producer accounts, right? Because as I said earlier, they're very sensitive. And if we only put a single key in the launch file, and when we bootstrap the network, there's only 1 single key, then we're pushing the problem back, right? The teams now need to handle the security for a single key and then do their key ceremony and then inject that on the live network, which is riskier. So I've put the structure of the permission directly in the launch file so that BPs can, from the get-go, prepare their key ceremony beforehand, a week before. The keys will be distributed to the right people, 1 in the bank account, 1 in the whatever, and 3 different people that can sign the change of block producer keys. And that'll be directly bootstrapped on the chain through that process. In fact, I think it's very important because there's otherwise a risk of, a single point of failure. And we're bootstrapping it. A global network, that's going to be like a lot of eyes on there. You know how crypto is. It's cold cash. People will want to hack it. So this is the basic, I think, what we could do as, securing the keys for those entities that are very different, from Bitcoin miners. They don't appear. We have a face, we can be targeted, and these things can sometimes be very efficient at, targeted phishing or whatever. So malware, yeah.
There's so many vectors we can't even imagine, right?
Well, we've started the modeling there. We're going to continue, and as we go, we'll try to contribute that back to the community.
And as we talked a lot about the boot right now, I think going forward, as the mainnet runs, there are going to be some different responsibilities for the block producers. And we intend to publish some tools as well to monitor who's doing what and how it's been done, and making sure that there's no rogue attempts in the network as it runs, because we all have that responsibility as block producers to monitor each other and make sure that anything should happen, we collaborate to fix it up as quickly as possible, right? So I think the risk of booting the network is one thing, but as the community evolves and that ecosystem grows in value, we see a lot of potential for BPs to start, being less honest, and we want to make sure that we have some tools to help this community stay very clean.
Mm-hmm. Is there the concept of like a PVT test, production verification testing to happen after the launch occurs, to say, okay, this is a good launch, we're going to accept this one?
Yeah, so the BIOS boot has exactly what you're talking about. So the first node will run all sorts of operation. You can see that in the EOS BIOS launch data repository. You have all these steps there that says like inject the contract, set the balances, create all the accounts for the initial block producers, and then set the privileged accounts. And all these steps are actions through transactions, right? They're all committed to the blockchain in the blocks as transaction. And that's all determined in a declarative way. So the process after that, when you publish the location to that first BIOS boot node, the 21 appointed block producers will all run through the exact same flow and verify that all the bits in the chain are identical to what they would have done. Otherwise, they will destroy the network, so it's useless, and then they can kick that rogue guy, who tried perhaps to inject one transaction more that gives him an advantage or whatever. So all the transaction, all the operations to occur until sort of a marker. And after that marker, it means you don't need to verify that. And it's proved that the BIOS boot has, got rid of his access, his privileged access. And then after that marker, people can start voting and doing things. So we won't verify that part. But of course, 21 people are going to verify that and make sure that nothing was off. So we'll want to test that many times, right? And everyone together. So we need to rehearse that. We need to synchronize on time with other block producers to rehearse that. It's not going to be easy because maybe the only time where we have 50 teams on the same day, same page or same I don't know what, it's going to be hard to manage. But we can rehearse with smaller groups.
And what is so looking off into the horizon a little further, what is the longer term plan for EOS Canada? What do you guys, how do you plan to be part of EOS, and what are you guys going to be building in the future?
So, we're into EOS for the long term. With the backing we're having, we're not short-sighted there. Eventually we'll be building dapps, we'll be building companies around that. We're part of an incubator also. So the goal is to, to do something long tail on that. Long term on that. So block producer, I think for us was an amazing experience to, learn super fast in a race and then dive very deep in a race to learn and be able to contribute on the technology front. But, also we're going to be redistributing that knowledge around our ecosystem so that many other things. We're already seeing many other opportunities, like people looking at what we're doing because they want to benefit from what we're learning and how we can deliver things fast. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and it also, being a BP will force us to immediately have to understand everything about EOS, not just as a user, as a developer, but everything, how it's built and how it actually runs. And this will force us to align, like our incentives will be aligned with community token holders, because we want to make sure that not just that EOS is running next year, but 5, 10, 15 years from now, because we want to build on top of EOS for a long-term vision.
So what's next for you guys? What are you mentioned a lot of the testing. Do you guys have any videos coming up? Do you guys have a timeline for those?
Oh, we've got I probably have about 10 articles in the works. We have a few videos in the works as well, some that are ready to be posted. We're just trying not to overload the community because we've been having a lot of people watch our stuff, read our stuff, and come talk to us. We want to make sure that we're not overloading too many people at once, so that we could answer any questions and fix anything. Because I'm sure we're all human, but we'll make errors too. So we want to make sure that we're not putting up too much change, because everything about EOS is always in flux.
This is something that we also are shooting for as well. I think we'll be probably on the same page leading up to launch and then afterwards as well. It's just how do we educate everybody and keep everybody on the same page for voting, how this will all work. The technical part is daunting for a lot of folks, a lot of token holders. And
so it is my personal goal. Now we'll see how that manages in our roadmap there. But to release, because of the tooling we've building around Go, we'll be able to release a single binary for all platforms. I'm thinking about the Windows folks, right? There's a lot of Windows token holders. It's not easy for them right now to have something they would run on their own machine, probably where they don't put at risk their private key in if they have $100,000, right? And to just do the vote. So I would like to provide like an EOS vote binary that would just take your private key, sign a transaction, and perhaps another EOS-setup security or something like that that would create your multi-sig structures and send that transaction out. So if it's a dedicated binary that people can read, audit the code, and trust, then, and there's not much to audit if you're looking at a very simple program that just does votes, right, and signs the transaction and sends it to the blockchain. I think that could be useful, and that could be eventually complementing whatever NS James is building. And we've talked about that. I think these things could go well together. So that's, I think, could help on the tech front, right, to help people simplify the process of voting.
Wow, it just seems like you guys are just contributing a lot right now, and we just wanted to say thank you for what you're doing. Where can people reach out to you, and where can they find more information about what it is that you're doing, and keep in touch with all the activities that you're currently working on?
I guess we're quite active on Telegram. You guys can also find us on Twitter, EOS Canada. We're also very present. On Reddit, we're there, and I guess, and then obviously on YouTube, we'll be releasing a bunch of videos in the upcoming weeks. Alex loves to do presentation, and there's a bunch of those in the works.
Awesome. Any last questions there, Kevin?
No, I was just going to make a remark. You know, Alex, I think I can tell he likes to give presentations. It's fun listening to you speak as well. So thank you for bringing your passion into EOS, and
my pleasure, man.
Great having you guys. Great having you guys on.
We're having a blast, and many thanks to you, Blue Jay and Kevin, for what you're doing. It's amazing, and we truly appreciate it. And we look forward to engaging with, token holders, developers, and block producers in making this ecosystem successful.
Right.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
You guys are an asset to the community for sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
So did we just drop off now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hey, see ya.
Thanks again. See ya, Alex. Wow. And so the video they released today was also, it's very technical. They went through their GitHub for the BIOS boot. It was impressive and very interesting. It's one of those videos you have to watch a few times. And you're still going to have probably a surface level understanding of what might actually happen during the launch. That's a lot of what EOS Canada is focusing on, is how to get us launched, how to help build those tools, and bring everybody together. And of course, we're on the same page on that regard, right? We need to all come together, the community, and educate each other and help each other understand what might happen. And so it's exciting to see these guys step up like that.
Yeah, agree. We all want a successful launch, that's for sure. Who do we have up next? It looks like we have a Swedish announcement. We're not going to be talking in Swedish or giving the announcement in Swedish, but we have people of Swedish nationality who will be joining us right now.
Yeah, I mean, if we tried to talk in Swedish, it might be a terrible show because we we would insult everybody probably. So we should just stay away from those. Just stick with English, maybe. But yeah, so we have Ivan on Tech is coming on. We kind of hinted at it earlier. We didn't actually announce it, but he is coming on, and he's going to talk about a blockchain conference. He's going to discuss more about how EOS will need a presence at that blockchain conference, and he's going to talk more about his thoughts on EOS. Of course, we're going to have Eric as well. You guys know Eric. There he is. Eric
Eric, right on cue.
From Sweden itself. Sometimes these guys are really impressive the way they come in right in their time, right on cue. Right? Start to say their names, and here they come.
I just want to know who is his tailor.
I mean, that is a dapper looking suit. I believe it is midnight out there in Sweden. Is that correct, Eric?
Oh yes.
Well, you look very awake and alive, so thank you. And there is Ivan. Hi there, Ivan. Nice to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you guys.
There's a beautiful background, probably more beautiful background than Eric's, but well, you look very awake and alive, so thank you. And
awesome. So I think you can hear me. I can hear you now. Amazing to be here, and we're glad to be here, guys. How are you? How is everyone doing?
Doing well. So what?
Awesome.
And who else do we have on here? We have VAHID.
Hey guys, how are you? Nice to meet you all.
Hey.
I've met the Swedes before, but nice to meet you too, Kevin and Blue Jays.
You're welcome,
great to meet you guys. And so we kind of we set this off as a mystery as to what you guys might actually be announcing, who might be coming on. So can we hear a little bit about you guys? And go for it.
Well, absolutely. My name is Ivan. I run Ivan on Tech YouTube channel. Also, I'm one of the co-founders of Stockholm Blockchain. We are a consultancy in blockchain here in Sweden, working with customers all over the world, implementing blockchain solutions on various platforms. And today we want to announce a conference, and it will be a pleasure announcing it here. So thank you for inviting us, and thank you for inviting me as well.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for coming on, Ivan, and bringing your friends. I mean, I think it was the opposite way around. We met Eric first, right?
They brought me here.
Yeah.
I mean, just to clarify, Ivan is like the new Zlatan here in Sweden. He's the poster boy. Look at that pretty face. Everyone knows who he is these days.
Yeah.
I have a long way to go to Zlatan.
Is Ace of Base from Sweden? Were those guys from Swedish? Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I love those guys.
Yeah.
That was what Michael Yates said a while back. When Ivan put out that you put out that video about making smart contracts on EOS, and Michael Yates was like, "Wow! First of all, I love the guy, and second of all, I have a man crush on Ivan." Everybody knows Michael Yates, and so yeah. Can we hear more about the conference? What do you guys have coming up?
Absolutely. So the conference is called Bloxpo. If you go to bloxpo.co, you can read more about it. And we are organizing a very big, very large, significant blockchain conference here in Stockholm, Sweden on May the 17th. The whole idea is to bring the crypto community from the whole world to Sweden. And something very interesting is that we will have Everypedia, and we will have Larry, from former co-founder of Wikipedia, speaking there. Of course, Everypedia is going to be based on EOS. And so therefore, in my view, it is very important for EOS to be present. And so our goal now is to get significant people from EOS speaking there as well, and showing presence in the Nordics as well, which is a very important region for blockchain. And this is something that has been missing in Sweden. I mean, EOS is not that well known in Sweden, in my view, compared to other countries. So it's in my view, very important conference to be attending, and we really hope to get some of the most significant people in EOS community to Stockholm, and Eric is helping us to achieve that.
Trying to, at least.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so it sounds like we're almost putting out a bit of a call here. We're looking for the folks who would like to speak, or if there's anyone in Block One watching. You know, I'm sure we know Dan watches every single show, live all the way through. Just kidding. So
yeah,
anyway.
so we reached out to Dan, but Dan said he needs to be programming EOS because it's so close to the release, and so he didn't have time to come.
Yeah,
and so we should. Yeah.
And then also, you guys have a meetup, I believe, coming up. We've been talking about this meetup for weeks now. We've sort of hinted at it in Stockholm. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
VAHID?
Yeah, so that's actually happening on Thursday in these old buildings in a very, prestigious room called the Hall of Mirrors. It's actually a small copy of the Versailles room. To be honest, we were having in a friend's office at first, because we were thinking it'd be maybe 10, 15 people, but then we kind of grew out of it. I think we're like 75 people right now. We were 50 earlier today. So something's obviously happening here in Stockholm. So that's going to be exciting.
Nice. That sounds great. Yeah. And we should also mention Eric's recent testnet post. It was a real whopper, and sort of educate everybody as to what has been happening on the testnet, also how to get involved and how the whole process looks. Can you take us through that just a little bit, Eric?
Yeah, I basically tried to summarize everything, and unfortunately the post got quite long, but I've gotten some good feedback on it, so I can really recommend you read it. More than anything, it's a call for people to come join us and do. I mean, the software really needs more testing, and we need to test different setups, and we need to test a lot of different things. So it would be great if everyone could just join in.
Sure. Yeah. And thank you for educating everybody on the testnet and keeping that going. And we've seen a lot of other testnets now popping up as well. Thanks a lot to the work that you guys have put in. And going back to Bloxpo, go ahead, Blue Jays.
Oh, I kind of just wanted to get Ivan's a comment on what he thinks of the EOS project. I mean, you're very aware of all the other projects in the cryptoverse, and I just wanted to get your idea about EOS.
Yeah, I think EOS is quite interesting and a totally different approach. I think the ideological difference is interesting between, for example, Ethereum and EOS, where Vitalik is this very decentralized nature of Ethereum is key to Vitalik, that every laptop should be able to run and all transactions, while while EOS is taking a whole other approach with block producers and having delegated systems. So in that sense, I think it is very interesting to see what will come out of it, and the launch is very soon. And keeping in mind the track record of Dan, I'm personally very excited and can't wait until the whole system launches on the mainnet. Also, we are developing a course on smart contract programming. So on coding.ivanontek.com, we're currently doing Ethereum, NEM, and EOS programming course. And also we are experimenting, and it's going to also be very important for EOS to keep up the development tools and to really have a very supportive community for new developers, because looking at other projects such as Ethereum, this is of course something that EOS currently lacks, a good development ecosystem. And so it's easy to get started and different IDEs and just the whole workflow. I think that is very, very key and very important for EOS to succeed moving forward.
So your EOS course will have C++ lessons.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Great.
Awesome. What was your favorite takeaway when you interviewed Dan a couple months back? What was your favorite takeaway from that interview?
Oh, that interview was actually very interesting. I think just the role Block.one plays in this project was very interesting. That they're just like, this is the code, we don't do anything else. The community needs to launch it. That's a very interesting approach. And also, it's going to be interesting to see how the community actually launches EOS. And if there are going to be several EOSs in the beginning, I mean, what is the real EOS? So, I mean, I wasn't that, I didn't have that perspective until the interview. But he put it in a very good way that it's a difference between writing the software for New York Stock Exchange and actually running New York Stock Exchange. So Block.one they're just writing the software. So in that sense, the community has a lot of responsibility, and a lot of the launch responsibility is actually on the community. So that is also quite a special trait of EOS.
In long term, we always have to ask this question of everybody. So long term, what do you guys see in terms of blockchain, EOS? We're talking 3-4 years out. Where is this industry going in general?
I, of course, think it's going to be huge. I mean, both blockchain and EOS in particular. I have a really hard time. I quite often see the launch date as event horizon. It's really hard to see what will happen behind it. Yeah.
I would say Go ahead there, Ivan.
No, I just want to comment on the fact that some people have the discussion, is going to be Ethereum versus EOS, which one is going to win. But I think in the future, we might use just many different platforms. So a dapp might have some parts of its system on Ethereum, some other parts on EOS. So I think it's a non-exclusive environment we're going to have. And the many different blockchains will be used for different purposes. And a dapp, as I mentioned, can integrate so many different blockchain platforms. So in that sense, I don't think it's either this or that.
Also, I would really like to see more cooperation between the different chains.
Yeah, instead of less of the dog eat dog kind of thing. And when it comes to dapps that you guys see, what is your favorite type of dapp? What would change the world the most for you guys?
Yeah, so in my view, I think governance and putting companies and putting decision-making on the blockchain is very interesting. And having, for example, board members in a company in many different countries, that is a very good use case of the blockchain, because it really utilizes decentralization and really utilizes the most important aspects of the blockchain. And it's not that you need to have like trillions and billions of transactions per second for that. And so in that sense, it really uses blockchain in an elegant way. And it is a really good use case for blockchain in my view, governance and governing organizations and building organizations that are truly global and censorship resistant. And you can be truly independent in that sense.
I would love to see an initiative where you see blockchain used in, let's say, humanitarian aid where you have full transparency. So you're sending money to developing countries, and you can actually trace the whole transaction. So you do the opposite of being anonymous. You do full transparency. I would love to see that happening. That'd be a very useful use of cryptocurrency or blockchains.
And in fact, Steemit, one of the most popular dapps out there that's been used. I mean, it's operational, right? It's being used every day. So that's one that could possibly be improved on with the governance aspects that Ivan mentioned as well.
True.
When we look at what's coming up for you guys, so you have the meetup this Thursday, and then you also have the Bloxpo. What does everybody need to know about that we haven't talked about already? So should people start ordering their tickets on Bloxpo, or what are the next steps here?
Yeah, so the next step for Bloxpo is, so there is an EOS meetup that VAHID talked about. Also, we have a Bloxpo meetup, kind of like a warm-up meetup for the conference that will be next week. Then the conference is in May. And now we're really finalizing the whole conference and getting speakers, getting the schedule. But then I think Eric and VAHID can talk more about the more EOS specific and related events and things that are going on in Sweden.
And I mean, Ivan, you mentioned a few names that are coming on, but you have people from the parliament joining, and you have a lot of big names.
Absolutely. And that is very important to us to both bring regulators and the industry and investors and enthusiasts, because I think we cannot just be in our own sandbox that, you know, this is blockchain, and we never talk to regulators because we are ideologically against government. I mean, you see these tendencies sometimes in blockchain space, but I think it's important to kind of bring all different parties together and have a dialogue and move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks, guys. Ivan, I just wanted to say thanks for coming on. And I did get my plant idea from your show.
Nice. Awesome.
That's actually an Easter egg from every single one of our videos we've ever put out. There's always been a plant in the background. We've never mentioned it on a show before, but go back and look, even the damn videos. So, thank you, Ivan.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for having us. Thank you for having me. It was a blast. It was a pleasure. And I wish you good luck with your channel and your audience. And just keep rolling and keep putting out content and educating everyone.
Thank you,
guys.
Thanks Eric.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Well, that was an honor. That was a thrill. It was great.
I did actually get my idea from Ivan to put it.
I just need to figure out how to leave.
Should be the bottom right corner there. There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, we'll just keep talking about Ivan as he listens in here on the show. No, but go ahead.
I was gonna say the plant that Ivan had. Yeah, you're right. I didn't think about it. We have a plant in every one of our Easter egg videos. So we have plant in the Dan videos, and if you guys haven't seen that yet, that's one that you can't miss. It's the BFT DPOS videos and the rate limiting and resource usage, and those can be found in our channel if you just go back maybe about 3 months or so. So upcoming next, we have an interview with ONO, a social network that's going to be building on EOS. Kevin, I believe they're based in Singapore, is it?
They're Beijing, actually. Beijing, China, 12 hours ahead of us, so it'll be very early in the morning for them on Tuesday. And we have to say, and we'll be pre-recording a couple of these in the future with some folks who are in time zones where it's just not feasible to come on. The Swedish folks, we thank them for coming on at 12:30 after midnight with us. We appreciate that. Hey, how are we doing? There comes the ONO social network right now. Some members.
Hi, Leah.
Hi, how are you?
Is it okay if we call you Leah?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're also known as...
My author name is Stellabelle, and on Steam and everything it's Stellabelle, but Leah is my official name, so...
Well, great to have you.
Famous Stellabelle. Great to meet you. Hi. Hello.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you. We were just talking about how early in the morning it is for you out there in Beijing. So thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, you can see the sunlight here.
Oh, great. Hi, Key.
Yeah.
Everybody. Okay. This is my team, and they're working hard.
Oh, good.
At 6:50 in the morning, they're all working hard. It's incredible. That's amazing. I mean, you guys just launched, so I know you've been working very hard, I'm sure.
Yeah, we don't sleep, actually. We don't sleep.
That's,
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's startup life. I mean, yeah, that's great. Can we learn so let's learn let's learn a little bit more about ONO social network if we could. I mean, you just launched in China. People have started to hear the rumblings, thanks to Stellabelle's article, which was great, the interview. And so we'd love to learn more about this. We basically follow the format of who, what, where, why, when. And so go ahead and tell us a little bit more about you and about ONO.
Okay. It's my pleasure to show all of you about ONO. Yeah, ONO is a free, decentralized, and democratic dapp. It's a social network upon the EOS, and we believe that it's the most large amount of the users of EOS dapp now. We just launched it yesterday, and after like 12 hours, we reached like over 50,000 users now. And actually, we are making the invitation code. It's an inviting system with the invitation code for our ecosystem better. So actually, we only send like 50,000 codes at the very beginning. So it's now the amount of our users. But our fans and supporters is more than that. We have like over 1 million supporters. They are in WeChat group, which is the largest, how do you say that? It's like a Telegram. WeChat is like a Telegram. And we have 1 million supporters on the WeChat, and Chinese Twitter is called Weibo. Yeah. So they are looking forward to get the invitation code, but unfortunately they don't have. So yeah, there's an interesting thing that our invitation code is sold on the black market, and it's worth like over $200 now.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I guess that's why Katie in our chat is asking, can we get a code?
Okay. Yeah. If you are a writer or amazing artist, and we will invite you. Yeah.
Well,
because
Katie is definitely an amazing writer. So.
Yeah.
Right. When it comes to art, I can do stick figures pretty well. You wouldn't believe it.
Finger paintings.
Finger painting. And we'd love. So you have an amazing vision with ONO, and long term. I mean, you have sort of a. Can you describe the vision for ONO and what you see?
I want to describe more because our Korean volunteer, he said that people will more curious about what's the difference between ONO and Steemit, right? I think people will more curious about that. Actually, we have like two differences from that, and it's basically we just want to solve the problem that Steemit may have. Is like the first one is the token system. I think they built the double token system so that people may confused about what's in their hand. They don't know what to trade or not, what to keep. So we basically just have a single token system. It's very easy, but we just solve some problem that infloating will cause. And the second is our strategy and value is kind of different from Steemit because we believe that we have to protect the ecosystem builders and content producers, their profit. We have to protect this. So that's why we don't go sell any tokens before our user reach 3 million users. Yeah, that's our policy. Okay, so yeah, I think like people will curious about what our team. So I'm going to introduce our team now. I am the CEO and founder of ONO. Yeah, and I was graduate at 2014 when I was only 19 years old. and I got my bachelor. And yeah, and I start up a company named ERA, and by that time ERA reached 1 million users. Just used like 12 days. Actually, it's a huge amount of it, but we don't think to reach lots of people is very difficult. It's very easy for us to reach larger amount of people, but we think that for our ecosystem, we have to slow it down, and we have to make more supporters and people who really trust in you, in your values, and they come at very beginning, and they build the society structure, and then we will open to all people. That's why we use that's how I learned from my first portfolio, and so that's why we use the inviting system to avoid the too many traders just come in and they go out, right, to destroy your ecosystem. And actually, ERA finally got like 10 million users, over 10 million users in China.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and next year I did in 2017 we did a project in China named Crypto Docs, which is famous in China too. Yeah, and lots of cryptocurrency users they are super attracted by that project. Yes, and by that time we think that project Crypto Docs is it's just basically a game, and it cannot develop like in a long term. So what we decided is to just give the project to all the people. So we kind of like we want to build a better or great project for all humans in the world. So that's why we do ONO. Yeah. Okay, that's basically just me, and I want to introduce my technology vice president.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yes, nice to meet you too.
His name is Derek. Yeah, he cannot speak English well, and me too. My English is poor, but I will try to translate it for you because he will mention about lots of technology details about ONO and how we do the EOS BP, so on. Yeah, and
sounds good. Yeah.
So, are you going to be offering multi-language support on ONO?
Yeah, we will. We will launch an international version in May. Just in May.
Wow.
Yeah. That's 1 month later. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. 对。
大家好，我叫徐新明 ，My name is Derek。我是毕业于北京航空航天大学，然后。
Yeah, he's a top. He graduated at the top 5. I mean, yeah, top 5 like university in China. Yeah, and
我曾经在京东去哪儿类似上市公司工作过超过10年的开发和架构经验。
Yeah, he worked like over 10 years for the Nasdaq companies. I mean, companies just go Nasdaq, like Jingdong, like Qunar, like it's a Chinese company, and it's very big, huge now. Yeah, and he's a developer, well known developer, and very good. He has very good skills. Yeah.
Excellent.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Tell him welcome to the EOS community, and we're glad to have him part of the EOS community.
他说这个非常欢迎你参与 EOS 的这个活动。Okay. Yeah. And we have a lot of team members, and they come from like all over the world. Yes. And Taurus is our ecosystem designer, and he can speak English.
Hi, I'm Taurus.
Hello.
Hi. Great to meet you.
Introduce yourself a little bit.
So, you can call me Taurus. It's my English name, and I graduated from University of Kent. Like three years before.
Yeah, he's a kind of like genius because he jumped the grade. Like when he just graduated, like when he was 20.
20 years old for postgraduate and
PhD, right?
No, actually just postgraduate master.
Wait,
master.
You graduated when you were 20? I think I was just getting started.
Yeah, most people were. But that's impressive. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to school early, I guess.
No. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty much just our structure team because we have lots of genius guys and good well-known people in China, and they come to our ONO to build this social network.
Thanks for bringing those great people in, Key.
Thank you for calling me Key. Okay. Okay. Actually, I'm going to introduce a little bit about the ONO's how did ONO get so fast, because we just used 2 weeks to get like over 1 million supporters. And,
Key, can we also just pause for a little bit and introduce how Stellabelle is going to fit into this?
Fit into what?
He's asking what my role is.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to our strengths to be a VP candidate. Is that about that?
No, he was asking what is my role. He was asking what role do I have in ONO.
Okay. Stella is our international partner. Yeah, and that's why I mentioned about how we get so many supporters like in only 2 weeks, right? Because we have this kind of policy for super partners, community volunteers. There's 3 role, and Stella is another. She's an international partner, and I think like in this part, Stella can explain this for me like more, because we just cooperated for a while, so like she knows about us more. Yeah, so can Stella tell us about all the partners in ONO?
Okay, so one of the biggest things that is unique to ONO is the super partner role, and the super partner role is a compassionate leader within the ONO network. So that role is holding the ONO values very close to them, and leading and guiding others with compassion. And because the social networks are extremely vulnerable in the very beginning of them, it is important and critical that the leaders have this element of compassion, that they can solve the interpersonal problems because they have matured as a functioning adult. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So they can create an atmosphere that is engaging, helpful, and they can guide people to solutions. This is a very important part of what is needed in the world. And so we are like opening the doors to people that have a different vision of what the world could be, with leading with compassion. This is a very big part, and this is the reason that I got attracted to this this project. It really it was a spark in my mind that it's possible to build a different world. And that's what happened. It's very organic what happened. And that's all. I don't want to talk too much, but compassionate leadership is a big part of why I got involved.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much just the soul and the value of ONO. Yeah, how we get those volunteers and partners together is that we just made 500 questions about ONO, and it's pretty much just a test, and we post it on our website, and all the people that have interest in us, they can just do the test. And if they reach like 100% correct, we will connect them and they will be our volunteer. And then like we have 1,000 volunteers in China now. And lots of volunteers, they want to like explode spread to their friends and their families. So they build some groups. And then we make the role of community partner. And the volunteers which have groups, they become the community partners, and they build by now that they have over 200 people or like 500 people in one group, like of all our community partners. That's why we got so many just supporters in China now, and it's organic growth. Yeah, and we will pick the super partners from them. Yeah, that's.
Key, what does the word ONO mean?
ONO, because our company name is NOME, N-O-M-E, NOME technology, and ONO means all know. And what does NOME means I think it's in the very Asian language. It means the first community for human in this world. And it also can be look similar as name and home. It's pretty much just our philosophy for human society. And N-O-M-E also means like know me, like know yourself. It's from Scarlet. Yeah, know yourself. Yeah, it's a reason that we should social. Yeah.
I have to admit, this is great. I'm having a great time right now. I'm just enjoying this interview quite a lot. I feel, it's just fun watching everybody working hard, and you guys take this very seriously, and I think that's great. And so you started off in China, and you're expanding internationally starting in May, and then when it comes to EOS itself, you're building on top of EOS and running for Block Producer. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, I have. Here's our strengths for the for the EOS BP. Because we have I have strength for the EOS plans, because we have larger amount of the users, and we can make EOS better. And as a developer, that we are all developers and our members, and we all believe that EOS is now the best solution of the world in the world. So. Different from the investors and some of the community builders, we have more trust in EOS because our career is built upon this. So actually, to start up a company, to start up a project just like EOS, it is a project too, right? So start up a company, you need a long-term confidence and long-term trust that to keep to avoid lots of chaos would happen in this project. We believe that we have confidence and we will trust what we trust. So so when EOS have problems, we won't betray it, or we won't do something bad about it. We won't do evil. Yeah, we are similar. We have similar values and philosophy is aligned with EOS. Yeah, we have similar thing. Yeah, so basically, and when we become the BP, we will able to better to help the the dapp ecosystem for EOS. Because we know we are developers, we know developers better. We know what they, we know how to, help them. Because developers, they are not only need the money, they need some supporters they need some other supportings like user, like fans, like influence supportings, and like solutions we can give them. Yes.
So, okay, what's next? What's next for ONO? Are you guys planning to launch when the mainnet launches, or sometime after that? What does your timeline look like?
Yeah, we are going to launch the version 2 in May. It's an international version. But during that time, we will quickly just, you know, how do you say that? I don't know. Just we will launch a new version of it every 2 weeks. Yeah, to make it better and, you know, fix some bugs and make more functions of it. And in May we will launch the big version of it. It's an international version, and all the people around the world, they can join. Yeah, and for the we have like common program. This thing is our basic policies, our baseline, is ONO's baseline, that we all follow this program. It says that people are all equal and we have the right of freedom. So that for the equal, for the fair, we won't reward too many ONOs at very beginning, when we didn't launch the international version. So yeah, so basically all the people in the world, they are equal in this platform. Yeah. So yeah, back to the topic.
Yeah, one question on that. How can you launch in May if the mainnet is not out till June?
We are now using the EOS testnet.
Oh, I
and
see.
When the main net of EOS is ready, we will make migration all the data there.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, it's a big time for us in June. Yes.
And the token itself will help decide what happens on the platform, right? The users will own the tokens and they can govern the platform. It's very democratic and open, and right?
Yes, they can earn the tokens by writing good articles and build the ecosystem. Yes.
That's great. Wow. Well, ONO's an exciting project. Where can folks keep up with ONO if they're looking to learn more, if they want to get invited into the future when you release in May? Where can folks go?
Okay. Thank you.
Are we looking at on the social network or on your website? What's the best place to follow along?
Yeah, we have like Twitter, like we have the Telegram group, we have the Reddit, we have Steam, we have Medium, we have like everything, and we have website, and we will push our news on all Medium platform.
Let me just interject there. It's on Twitter. It's at ONO Social. So ONO was taken, but it's ONO Social on Twitter, Steemit, Medium, and Reddit. So really, that's just the word at ONOSOCIAL.
Oh, great. Thanks for that information.
Yeah, just found it. Yeah.
Also, Stellabelle, congrats on passing the 500 question test.
Good point.
This activity is down.
I haven't passed it yet.
Okay.
I did help with the white paper, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And a lot of
And you made that was a great interview. The text interview that we saw on Hacker Noon was great as well. So thank you for introducing the world to ONO. And great having you on. Great to meet you, Key. And
thank you. It was nice to see you all in person, sort of, as personable as we can get, right?
Yeah, it was great having you guys on. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Wow. Blue Jays, I don't know about you, but at 6:50 in the morning, I'm not always wide awake and just working as hard as I could, right?
Right. And they have a whole team there working, and
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so we're going to move forward to the next. We have Thomas Cox coming on. Stellabelle, I think you're still with us.
Oh, I'm going.
Okay, I wasn't sure if she, just like Alex, earlier, he's like, well, do I sign off or do I just? Yeah. So we have Mr. Cox coming on here. You know him pretty well at this point. Go ahead and introduce them there, Blue Jays, if folks who are not familiar with Mr. Cox.
Blockchain governance expert from who knows a lot about EOS is Mr. Thomas Cox. He's been on our show many times before, and this is one of our most popular segments. I think this is the segment that our community basically asks questions for Thomas, and he will come on and speak about them and answer them exactly. We'll just read them out. We won't. Well, sometimes we may interpret it, but for the most part, we ask word for word each question, and you can always reach out to Kevin and myself, and there he is.
Welcome, Thomas. Welcome, sir.
Greetings. How's it sound?
Sounds great.
Sound really good. Yeah, you don't have a headset this time.
No. I've switched back to my my super high end floor standing mic of awesomeness.
Whoa, this guy is serious.
And oh yeah.
Clearly, you're investing thousands of dollars to be on this show.
I am getting I'm getting all mic'd up and wired up here just in time to hit the road and not be back here for ages and ages. I'm leaving tomorrow for Salt Lake City. I've got a Salt Lake City meetup I'm speaking at, doing a governance talk there. Tuesday evening, then Wednesday evening I'm in Dallas, Texas. Thursday evening I'm in Austin, Texas, and then by Friday afternoon I'll be in Blacksburg.
Wow.
Working in the office to the afternoon through the weekend, and then all the following week, and then that weekend, and then I'm going to come home and see if my wife remembers what I look like. And then the next round of meetups will be St. Louis, Detroit, and Toronto. And Toronto's got me booked in 3 different places over 2 days.
Yep, the hot spots.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
so cool. And then I'll hit New York on the way home over the weekend, but mostly just to see friends.
Holy cow.
But then I just get back to Blacksburg after that. I'm going to be much more in Blacksburg, which of course, as most folks know, is our where most of the core developers are, who are in the U.S. and not in the in Europe or in South America or in Hong Kong, because they won't fly me there. They'll fly me to Blacksburg, though. Gorgeous town. You've been,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be in Blacksburg a great deal, and the next several Mondays you'll see different backgrounds behind me, and I'll probably have a headset on there because I won't be bringing the mic with me on the trip.
Sounds great. Maybe we should have a 6:50 in the morning show in Blacksburg, and we can see who's working there in the office at 6:50 in the morning.
Just like those amazing people at ONO. Wow.
Yeah, I was impressed. That was a fun interview.
Yeah. We are attracting some amazing people into this community.
I was just going to say, there's a lot of talent and, amazing people coming in.
Well, it's interesting because, talent is like an independent variable from whether people are nice or not. And there's some really talented jerks, and I think most of them work in Bitcoin. And it's not that they couldn't work here in our space as well, but we seem to be attracting the other group who aren't that, who are also talented, but actually like people. I think the whole governed blockchain, civilized society, not law of the jungle approach, maybe that's working.
Kind of reminds me of, if you look at YouTube comments versus Facebook comments, typical. You got a big disparity there. When you're anonymous, you can get away with anything you want.
Oh yeah, people say stuff. There have been studies where people put on masks and you can't identify who they are. A lot of them, their behavior changes completely. There must be something wrong with me because I've never had that impulse.
You need to go to more of those masquerade balls.
I'm like, but I know it's still me. I don't know. We're all wired differently. That's why there's variety in the world.
Top K-pop mentioned in the chat that she swears you're aging backwards. So I don't know.
I am. I'm actually Benjamin Button. Okay. Little trivia, little movie trivia for some folks there. Speaking of variety, we've got a variety of questions.
Yep.
Yeah. So what we do is we send out Thomas the questions. We collect them all, and then we send them all during the day on Monday, of course. And then, so here we are. Let's go ahead and start. There's a lot of them, so let's go through them here. Starting with Anonymous, first thing here, and he says, where will we store the new shiny EOS tokens when they are released? And if the ERC20s came from Mu or My Ether Wallet, will the new EOS go back into My Ether Wallet?
Right, great question. So there's the whole wallet question, and there's software wallets, there's hardware wallets, and that is an area of active development by a lot of third parties. I was just talking with Nathan James, the creator of Scatter, which is not a wallet, by the way, but it's a very important piece of front-end software. And there's a couple of wallets in development, and I don't want to name them because I might leave somebody out and get them mad at me. So what I would encourage all of you wallet makers out there, Eugene, is to get your project listed on EOS Index and any of the other EOS project lineups. There's something called EOS Essentials. That's a really phenomenal curated list available on GitHub.
Yeah, there's eosprojects.org as well.
eosprojects.org, right. And so get your wallet projects listed. And then next week, when this question comes back up again, I'll just say, look at all these wallets on the project list. And then I won't be in the position of trying to recommend anything, which I really ought not do. And let's just say, if you're working on a wallet now, good for you, and let us know. That's the short answer. How's that?
Okay.
Works.
Can I go with the next question, Kev? So,
oh, yeah.
What, if any, KYC, know your customer information, will be required to claim EOS tokens?
Right. So the three acronyms to know are KYC, which is not Kentucky Fried Chicken, KYC, AML, and CFT. And they are know your customer, anti-money laundering, and combating the financing of terrorism. And they are three related regulatory regimes having to do with requiring institutions to know who their customers are to prevent money laundering and related crimes. And there's some open questions that people have floated about. Well, will people who have purchased EOS tokens have to go through a KYC process in order to get their tokens? The short answer is I have the faintest idea. I'm so busy in governance. Even if there were something on that line, I'm not aware of it. It's certainly not on our product roadmap. So I don't know if anything will show up. And we've all been surprised before on this project with things popping up. So I can't say it won't happen. I will say it's not currently scheduled to happen. And I don't know everything.
Okay. Let's move on from that one then. Anthony in private message said...
Oh, wait. KYC would be a great question to ask. There's a new feature available on medium.com, the official BlockOne information channel. They have something called AskBlockone. Every week they answer questions, kind of like I'm trying to do, only instead of being technical and informal and personal, it's actually like official answers. They would have the answer to that. They might not give it to you, but you could certainly ask them. So highly recommend asking the AskBlockOne folks.
Beat us to the punch on that one. We had it on our news list, and we'll share that link with everyone later.
Yes.
5 questions.
Repeat that link many times.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next question was from Anthony from private message. He said, what will prevent block producers from becoming cartels? After a few years of the majority of block producers producing blocks, they will have accumulated a lot of coins where they can control a lot of the voting power.
Anthony, thank you. Great question. What will prevent cartels? Voters. Voters will prevent cartels. Only you can prevent forest fires, and only voters can prevent cartels. That's it. So before you vote, you demand proof of independence, of independent ownership. You demand proof of non-collusion, and if necessary, you vote people out occasionally, if necessary. That is the front line, the middle line, and the back line of defense against cartelization. I will also challenge the underlying assumption that after a few years of producing blocks, the block producers will have accumulated vast storehouses. And I don't think that's probably terribly accurate. I could be wrong. But unlike a lot of other chains where annual inflation of new blocks runs 15, 20, 30%, which can add up fast, and you've got these mining pools that control, 50%, the top 3 mining pools control 50% of block production on some chains. Wacky. We don't have that. So you've got at most 5% inflation, probably a lot less. especially if the token value is up anything above, say, $6. And then that's divided across 21 independent separate parties. So let's say it's 4% across 21, let's pretend 20. So I'm going to get 0.2% of block will come to me before I pay my expenses. How many decades do I get to accumulate that? I mean, compound interest is amazing, but compound interest of 0.2% is not huge. So no, I don't think that's, I can think of a lot of things to worry about. That's not high on my list.
Okay, that makes sense. And here is probably one of the more interesting questions I have seen and I'd never thought of before. From Anthony again in private message, he said, what if an arbitrator is automatically biased by being an EOS holder? For example, if a group of block producers are on trial for collusion and the arbitrator has to decide whether 50 million of their coins gets destroyed, the arbitrator will always have economic incentive to favor destruction of those coins, and also especially if he's getting paid. So how do you handle cases like this?
Right. So just to spell out what that incentive looks like, not everyone understands. Inflation is everyone's enemy because it makes your existing tokens less valuable over time. Inflation is also your friend because it is the non-punitive, totally fair taxation method by which the chain is paid for. Since, nobody pays willingly for development on a lot of these blockchains, which is why you get people putting $200 million into a wallet that was never tested because there was no money for testing. It's like, what? Stupid. So to not have that in the environment, we've got to have the inflation, a portion of which goes to block producers to pay them for their time, a portion goes to worker proposals. And one of the worker proposals could be something like, let's burn some tokens, so that as the inflation goes into that worker proposal pool, some of it could just be thrown away, burned, which then reduces the supply, elevating the value. So anything that might destroy a lot of tokens might look really attractive to somebody. On the other hand, even 50 million, which seems like a huge number, is out of a supply of 1 billion to start with, that's less than 5%. Then, so I'm going to burn them, and that the value to me as an arbitrator, let's say I've got 1,000 tokens worth $6 each, so I've got $6,000. And so my judgment, my professional judgment and my reputation, I'm going to sell it for 5% of 6,000, which is $300 on a 50 million token deal, where I imagine I'm being paid a professional service fee of many thousands of dollars, and I'm gonna just burn my reputation like a cheap tiki torch just for an extra $300. Okay. Sense. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm saying that person probably won't get through the basic screening for arbitrators not being dumb and unable to do math. I'm just not seeing it. I'm not saying it's not there. I'm saying that seems implausible to me. When you think of all the things that would make the chain better and therefore me better, it's, believe me, if I'm an arbitrator, I'm on the chain, I am a stakeholder, I care about the health of the chain. And deflation is important, but justice is far more important. And you know about skin of the game. Yeah, maybe I got $300 that I'll theoretically benefit by, but then I've got I'll never get another job again. Yep. And so, hey, $300, but no more career, or my reputation's trashed. So I'm not saying that there aren't incentives. I'm saying let's make sure we have the magnitude of the incentives dialed in accurately in our minds when we try to game these things out. And yes, arbitrators will, one hopes, be deeply incentivized to protect the chain as a whole, as opposed to being arbitrators who are owned by or who own large amounts of specific projects, which they might then want to rule in favor of, which is why you must, as an arbitrator, have no interest whatsoever in the specific outcome of the specific case you're facing. And so Anthony has absolutely spotted very accurately one of the things that every arbitrator will have in common. They'll all have some desire to keep the chain healthy, happy, and keep token value, one imagines, up somewhat. I think he's in error if he imagines that the magnitude of the incentive of deflation is somehow hugely more than my reputation, my fee, and my self-respect. So
good point.
And yeah, you got to watch out for that. And if you ever see someone deliver an arbitration ruling that is so egregiously awful that a child could tell that it's wrong, you have 2 appeals against arbitrators in the current default value set we're putting together. One is gross negligence or incompetence. They're just so profoundly wrong that it's laughably horrible and everyone's embarrassed for them. Or an undisclosed conflict of interest, like their brother-in-law is one of the parties in the dispute. That sort of thing. Something that would have invalidated them if it had been revealed. So yes, everyone's got questions about arbitration. Can I just say, next time you've got a question about arbitration, go look and see how arbitration works in the non-blockchain world and figure it'll probably work very similarly on the blockchain world too, because arbitration's arbitration. It's been around for many, many decades. There's an enormous body of knowledge around that. We've got some excellent people working on a simple rule set based on the UNCITRAL, the United Nations Center for International Trade resolution, and the International Center for Dispute Resolution rule set, which are related to each other. That's being worked on right now. You'll see a set of principles out probably in the next couple of weeks on arbitration. So, what if there's a conflict? What if there's this? What if there's that? All of these are problems that off-chain arbitration faces every day. These problems have been solved, okay?
Thomas, is that icdr.org?
ICDR.org, I believe, is the right link, yes.
Great. There's another question from Anthony in private message, and this is one I had as well, too.
Yeah, Anthony hit it out the park here. He's got like 5 or 6 really good questions.
All right. And this one says, if I stake my tokens voting for the block producer, can I also use those tokens to vote on proposals, or I guess, worker proposals, I guess it would mean.
Right. So the worker proposal code and interface is still being spec'd. It may or may not be released in June. We know that the worker proposal fund will be there accumulating tokens on day 1, but the code may be a 1.1 release. We're not sure. And I will tell you that the current thinking is that when you have tokens staked for bandwidth and or CPU, those are the tokens you vote for block producer. You, I believe, will vote the exact same tokens also for worker proposals. So if you've got, let's say you've got 100 tokens that you've staked for CPU and another 50 for bandwidth, so you have 150 total, then you can vote with a power of 150 for up to 30 block producers. You can also vote with a power of 150 for up to, I think it's 3 or 5 or some number of worker proposals. And so yes, it would be the same power level in the 2 different domains.
And would there be the same 3-day lockup?
Right. The 3-day lockup has to do with staking for CPU and bandwidth.
Okay.
So the voting just rides along on top of that.
Okay. Kevin, do you have any other questions from Anthony?
Well, let's see. He has a lot of them, but let's go forward to Roman from Crypto Alliance. He'd like to ask about, and we'll probably get back to Anthony because we have a lot. But Roman was asking about, has there been any discussion of the idea of universal standing, meaning that any user of EOS can press charges for a crime regardless of whether or not they are the victim? And he believes this would create a lasting law-abiding society.
Right. There will almost certainly be some actions that will be considered, not quite crimes against humanity, but kind of like that, crimes against the blockchain. Buying and selling votes is definitely one of those. There will be a class of activities that if you engage in them, you will be harming everybody. And that gives anybody standing to come after you if they've got the evidence. Now, if you try to bring a case and you don't have evidence, you will probably lose your deposit, lose your case, and maybe subject to a counterclaim. So don't go making wild accusations. And we're working actually right now, and I'd love to get Roman's input, anybody else's, on what classes of things should be considered crimes against the group, and therefore anyone would have standing. And also, I want to start putting together a list of potential penalties. with the expectation that first-time offenses really should be treated gently, and that we really want fast action, certainty, and the opportunity for people to be rehabilitated and re-enter the group. So we want to be fast, accurate, and gentle, I think, is our current belief set. Hopefully that'll stand the test of time.
Makes sense. Yeah. And we should ask about, let's go back to Anthony here. What location info will be available about block producers in your mind? And he says this with a concern that if exact locations are known, a large-scale attack would be much easier.
Yeah, I don't know that large-scale attacks are realistic in any sort of physical sense. It's like, is George Soros or the Illuminati or fill in the blank, going to be helicoptering in bands of, black jumpsuited ninjas to take out, 21 block producer data centers. Even if they do, it'll take us about 45 seconds to switch to the backups or the backups of the backups. I mean, it's a blockchain. It's really resilient. Maybe I'm being complacent, but I'm just not that worried. So, the block producers will reveal as much information as they choose to reveal, and the voters will vote accordingly. And I personally, as a future potential voter, if and when I'm active on a blockchain and I have any tokens, I'm going to want to see that someone's got an actual data center and isn't afraid to tell me where it is. At least what city it's in, what backbone's he attached to, what kind of latencies he got. But
are they ninja proof?
Do I need the street address? Do I need to know which rack he's located in? I don't. Probably not that.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
But if someone wants to do a cartoon of the ninjas, I would love to see the cartoon.
If these drones these handheld drones get any more advanced, we may be in trouble here.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Weird world we live in.
I know. Yeah. Let's go to Anthony again. Go. You have one, Blue Jays? Go ahead.
We can go back to Anthony's. I just wanted to talk about one from Roscoe from the forums. He's hoping to talk about whether block producers can vote for themselves, and furthermore, vote for themselves with the tokens they own. Yeah,
you can only vote for yourself with tokens you own, because tokens you don't own, you can't vote unless you're a proxy. In which case, you should be voting the way the proxy giver asked you to. My current belief, and this is, we have a little more tuning to do on the governance front. My sense is that people who own, let's say, less than 1% or less than 1/10 of 1% of all outstanding tokens, they should vote any way they want to. Vote for yourself. Absolutely. If you've got more than 1% of the vote, maybe you're getting close to 10%, which we are very seriously writing. I've already drafted it. It's not released yet, but my Constitution draft has a provision that no one can own more than 10% of all tokens, like a hard cap at 10%. Like if you own more than that, two things happen. One is you get too big. Number one is you get too big. Number two is you start to take on aspects of being a fiduciary for the rest of the group. And if you're a fiduciary, the token starts to look like a security, and that is unacceptable. Because we have a token that you swap, by owning it, you get CPU bandwidth, and if you stake it for storage, you get storage. That's what it does.
Yeah.
That's all it's intended to do. And turning it into a security totally changes the nature of the chain. And so we're baking in a lot of things to prevent the stealth implicit securitization of the token. One of our provisions is that no one is a fiduciary, and no one can ever be a fiduciary. And so we want to have a hard cap at no more than 10% ever in any one person's hands, or what's called a beneficial interest. So no shadow ownership behind the scenes either. But if you've got like less than 1/10 of 1% and you vote for yourself, I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's noticeable in the grand scheme of things. So
we've seen a few. That's interesting to hear about hearing about the new cap idea. And I'm wondering about Sybil attacks. Of course, that's a constant. How do we control
Right.
folks just spreading out their coins over all kinds of different wallets?
Yeah, right. I could have 11%, but 6% in one wallet and 5% in another, and then it looks like I'm okay. And that'll be hard to guard against. And blockchains are stuffed full of data, and the fact that wow, these two wallets are both very large, they both vote the same way all the time. That could be a hint. You can start asking, well, what else do we know about these wallets? And because all the transactions are visible to everybody forever, it's going to be very hard to hide the Sybil nature of your wallets. At some point, my guess is there's been so much talk about having dapps have a vote or having people have a vote. I would not be surprised. This is speculation now. I would not be surprised if there were movement to have the one token, one vote offset by some secondary voting thing. So it would be like a House of Lords and a House of Commons, and then they would both have to vote on certain crucial like upgrades or whatever as a long-term future, not as a June thing. And that would be interesting. It would tend to mute the whale power, and it would be very hard to be two people. And to be two large people with big token holdings would be even harder. So I'm suspecting we're going to have some form of maybe pseudo identity, if not hard identity, fairly early. So we don't see a lot of whales right now, it looks like, from the analysis I've seen of token distribution. And I suspect the community is going to move towards wanting some kind of one person, one vote something, which will tend to counteract both the Sybil attack and the large whale. And we'll see. I mean, this is where we as a community have got to decide where we want to steer the ship and how we want to be.
Will the data be available to be mined so that you can figure out correlations between voting?
It's a blockchain, so all transactions are always available.
Great.
Okay. And now we'll go back to Anthony again. He's talking about a statute of limitations on claims. How much time does the accused have to respond to a claim? And he fears a claim that can be timed when the accuser knows that the accused will be inactive. For example, he sends 100,000 EOS to someone for cash, and he knows that person is going to be in the jungle for a month. He's saying he waits until the person leaves and then opens a claim for the funds. And if that user has 30 days to respond to the claim,
sure,
and he will automatically win.
Right. It's a great question. We do have a couple of different timers set in the default settings for arbitration. We'll see what the final rules look like. There's, a 30-day response time. Like you have to respond to a request for arbitration within 30 days. The arbitrator themselves might notice that this person publicly said, I'm going to be unavailable for the next, 45 days. I'm sailing around the world and I'll, be back in 90 days, whatever it is. And an arbitrator is expected to use their judgment and go, oh, well, you filed this case, but this person's publicly said he's not available. So of course he didn't respond. I'm going to suggest you just sit on this and let's all wait for him to come back. In which case you're going to sit there going, oh, my timing attack has failed. Or if you have a substantive business and you also take off for extended periods, you might give somebody responsibility for checking on your account for you, power of attorney, or limited power of attorney to respond. And that person could say, just got your notice. Sorry, he's out. How can I help you move forward until he returns? And then a smart arbitrator is going to go, well, you could have filed this 45 days ago. You seem to have sat on this claim until just now, and he's unavailable. What's the hurry? And I'm not saying that people can't do that. I'm saying that arbitrators aren't robots. And if you have a business with running hundreds of thousands of tokens through it on a regular basis, get help. Don't vanish for extended periods. It's just sensible. Have something, and by the way, have someone house sit for you while you're doing that. Don't let the goldfish die.
Or the plants.
The house plants, yep.
Yeah.
Very important, house plants.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then we looked to Loon Revent from the forums. He said EOS has an I think he meant arbitrator, but he said arbitrage.
Yeah, he said arbitrage.
Arbitrator system that arbiter system that may disable criminals who steal your EOS funds and force them to return it. And how about things like WikiLeaks? And a while ago, for WikiLeaks, their PayPal, Visa, and various bank accounts are pressured by the U.S. governments to be shut down. Could the U.S. or any government pressure EOS arbitrator systems to shut down these accounts as well?
Right. Interesting question. The neat thing about the arbitrators is while they have significant powers, they can't touch things off the chain. So an arbitrator, to the best of my knowledge at least, I could be wrong, can't tell PayPal to do anything. Now, maybe the question is, can they do something on the chain? Because obviously, if the government can go after PayPal directly, they're not going through the arbitrators for that. Maybe they're trying to shut down the on-chain PayPal equivalent. Okay. So in the event that an arbitrator feels pressured from the outside and is losing their independence, they are honor bound to hand the case to somebody else who's not in conflict. So a non-US arbitrator, like say in Mumbai or Kenya somewhere, can, they don't care what the US government says. We'll get somebody in South Korea or Russia or China, whatever, let that person take over as arbitrator. And so, okay, and then what pressure can the US bring to bear on this person exactly? I think their reputation would go through the roof if they just gave the US government the finger and publicized the pressure and said, that's nice, but until you, US government, own tokens on the chain and bring a case as a token holder on the chain, you have no standing here.
Wow. That's bold. I mean, I would respect that arbitrator. That's for sure.
I mean, just the same as if, the government of Erewhon, the fictional nation of, I forget the author, if they pressured you or me and we were arbitrators, we'd be like, I'm sorry you're upset, but you don't own any tokens and you don't exist on the blockchain. You're not a party to this. If you have evidence you want to give us evidence, but I'm ruling on an arbitration case on the EOS blockchain. So
makes sense.
Great question, because we know that's going to happen.
Yeah.
We have a question here from Josh Kaufman from the forums, and it's regarding time delays. Our understanding is that the time delay is opt-in. So in this past week, where some users went directed to scam sites for the EOS DAC airdrop, they entered their private key. If this happened on top of the EOS network and the user did not already activate the time delay function, they would have to go through arbitration to resolve this. I guess that was a question.
Very likely. Yeah, very likely. By the way, one of the neat things about the EOS blockchain is it enables what I like to think of as bounty hunters.
Yeah.
So if you see a scam site, put 3 or 4 EOS into a brand new wallet, give them your private key by mistake, and then immediately file an arbitration case on them. Because now you've suffered a loss. Now you've got standing. In fact, you could even tell an arbitrator, I'm about to engage with this apparent scam site. And so when you stand by for the case I'm about to file, send him your key. Oh, my EOS, he just stole my stuff. Pow. Wouldn't that be fun?
Could be. Yeah, certainly there are some folks who take joy in bringing law.
Oh, isn't it fun to go after bad people?
Sure. Yeah.
Having the tools and the techniques to do it. I'm not saying it would always work. It may not ever work, but it'd be fun to try.
You're being a bounty hunter on this blockchain?
Bounty hunter on the blockchain. Yeah, blockchain bounty hunter. That would be a great TV series.
Right? Who's going to be the first Boba Fett for the...
Yes. I could so see us having a Boba Fett.
I nominate Sam Sapoznik for that job.
He was a bad guy, but he was a badass bad guy.
It's true. Let's look forward here. So let's go back to Anthony from Private Message. If spam accounts become a problem, then account creation starts costing a small amount of EOS. Then won't it be like other smart contract platforms where the user pays the fees because it requires EOS to start?
Right. So we've gone back and forth internally on precisely how we allow accounts to be created. On the early testnet version and 2.0, anybody can make an account, but you do have to fund it yourself. You fund it with a small amount. We might change that to a slightly larger amount. It's configurable. And we might have certain people empowered to be account creators who provide that as a service. Unclear to me what the best way forward is. Most people who are initial users because they already participated in the ICO. And so their account's preloaded in the Genesis block or right after Genesis when we insert all the accounts. So you won't have to make an account. It'll be there. Spam accounts. So here's the other thing. People spam you because it costs them nothing to send an email. But we don't have an email system. We have a blockchain. What are they spamming exactly? Transactions? Okay, but they have to own tokens and stake them. Yeah. And then they only get as much bandwidth as they're allowed. They can't crowd anybody out. So it's not like the spam, it's not like a DDoS attack that shuts somebody down. They're just, okay. And so what exactly is the form of the spam? Are they like, sending you, well, they can't send you things, right? So I'm sitting here pondering, like, we say spam account, but I don't see, no one's given me an example of how actually that transpires.
Are you saying the barrier to entry is very high for a spammer?
I'm saying I don't know what form spam takes if it's not an email platform, which it's not. And you have to, if there were messages and someone was spamming, they are signing every transaction with their private key, which tells you who did it. And if they were abusive, then they're just inviting being shut down through an arbitration case. It's like, file a dispute.
And NS James made an interesting comment in the chat. He said, it's also important to state that account creation staking can be retracted. Stake the account for 7 days, let them transfer the tokens to it, and then retract the stake automatically on a deferred basis.
Yeah. Just the background, folks, is if you had an account but there's no tokens in it, how can you do anything because you've got no bandwidth and no CPU? So the person who created your account will probably not necessarily give tokens, but delegate some tokens to that account. And as James just suggested, do it on a temporary retracting basis so they've got a couple of days to put their own money in. And you wouldn't stake them so many tokens that they could go create a lot of mischief, because unless your pockets are really deep, I guess.
It's kind of how Steemit works right now, too. When you sign up for a new Steemit account,
I think that's right. I don't understand Steemit all that well on the inside.
Yeah. And of course, a lot of end users, they won't have to worry about any of this stuff. Of course, they'll have a dapp, and they just know they can interact with whatever dapp it is. So
should be pretty straightforward. A lot of people will end up, quote unquote, using the blockchain without ever having an account. All right, they'll be interacting using the dapps account.
Sure. Yeah.
One interesting question from Anthony from private message. He says, "What is light client as a smart contract?" I believe this may have come from some of the things that Dan was writing in the chat.
Right. So we're way at the, like, how the atmosphere has got this layer where it's too thin to breathe, but it's still technically atmosphere. We're up there right now for me. I'm like, I can't, I sort of know some of this, but I'm not very well.
Okay.
So my best amateur shot at an answer, and we'll see. Light clients are capable of, if I understand it correctly, verifying transactions on that chain over there. And so if I have a light client in a smart contract, then over here in this chain that the smart contract lives in is a light client that can verify something over on this chain over here. It's like, what? Cool. So you can prove that you can have a transaction that requires somebody to do something on Ethereum, and then you prove he did it, and then you do the next step on EOS. It's like this, like you can prove they did it. You've got, it's like guaranteed delivery of it's like, so you can have transactions depending on transactions on other chains, private chains, side chains, other people's chains entirely.
Interesting.
Tezos, if it ever launches.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Well, while we're breathing that thin air, let's talk just a little bit about the block producers running multiple chains with inter-blockchain communication, because there was a question on the forums. It actually wasn't in the summary there because this came in after I had sent you that. Anyway, so asking about inter-blockchain communication will be the most radical way for EOS to scale. And if EOS tokens will be the one currency to be used in all those EOS nets, does that mean that the reward will be split by 21 block producers for each chain and by the number of supported chains in existence?
Right.
If that's the case, it would become very difficult for block producers to sustain powerful enough architecture.
Isn't that? Yeah. Yeah. I wondered about that too. Is there one main chain and then say there's 3 big side chains, and I'm a block producer producing blocks for all 4? Are they all experiencing inflation and they all paying me? Are they all paying me the same token or different tokens? I don't know. It's entirely possible to launch an EOS.io software-based blockchain with no token at all. And some of the side chains will be very simple ones where there is no token, where it's a private side chain where you control who logs in and you don't even have to do rate limiting.
Sure.
So you're not going to be required to have those tokens. And I imagine side chains will be fairly low impact, maybe cheap to run, or you'll own them and you'll own some servers to run them on, or you'll be part of some private consortium that runs those servers. We'll probably see 1,000 different configurations there. But I will say the short answer is I don't know. And it's terrifying and exciting and wonderful. And I can't wait to find out.
You sound like Blue Jays and I when we talk about the news after you leave. We
Yeah.
don't know what's going on, but it sounds great. We're excited.
Yeah.
We're at double space.
I would love to say, well, we could look at the example of A, B, and C who've already done that, but no one's ever done it that I know of. So even if I had great certainty on what would transpire, that would just mean I was certain. It wouldn't mean I was right.
It's just like the boot process that we talked earlier on about with EOS Canada. It's like, how's it going to happen? Well, we don't know. We've never done one like this before.
Well, the good news is, and EOS Canada, by the way, have done amazing work on the EOS boot process, more than anybody else. They've done tremendous work. They've created so much value for the community. I'm so grateful to them. We're going to be going through the EOS boot process many times between now and June 2nd.
Excellent.
So somebody may say, I don't know how to do the boot process today. I promise you, when you've done it about a dozen times in an afternoon, you'll get good. And then we start throwing in test cases and weird failure errors and make you catch the errors and stuff,
Great.
The bad BIOS boot by someone who's malevolent and tries to give themselves extra coins. And how do you catch it and shut them down and try again?
Sure.
Start with hello world and then get better. Yep.
True fact.
Excellent. Are there more questions, Kevin?
Well, we certainly, let's see. So Anthony, he's asking about protecting your coins. Isn't it best to send them to an exchange and then send them to a new account? And that way your coins can never be frozen or reversed?
You could certainly try.
He's saying that it almost sounds like he's asking whether it's beneficial to not own your property. Leave it on the exchange.
And or to move it in such a way that it's hard for someone to know that it's yours. And basically that's the multiple account hack where you do something wicked with your Fred sock puppet, and then your Fred account sends it to an exchange or sends it to your Barney sock puppet account, and now the Fred account's in trouble, but it has no assets. Those assets went onto the exchange somewhere, and who knows where, and you can't see inside the exchange unless you somehow manage to subpoena them or something. Good luck with that. And so the person controlling the Fred and Barney sock puppets has now successfully ripped you off. I will say what I constantly say is trust should be earned. Don't do transactions with people you don't trust. Look for vendors who have reputation, who've been doing transactions with other people, who have put coins or tokens in a performance bond that they can't withdraw. So if you want a judgment against them, there's something there for the arbitrator to draw from to pay you back. And if you are doing large deals with an unknown person with no strong identity, no track record, no performance bond, and you don't know them, I don't know that you'd buy a used car from somebody under those circumstances. Why would you do it on a blockchain?
Yep.
So,
buyer beware.
Yeah. Caveat emptor, and don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
And arbitration can help. Arbitration could have stopped the DAO hack, and arbitration could have stopped the parity wallet bug, for instance. But it won't. It's not a panacea. There are no panaceas, folks. Nothing fixes everything. Just common sense. Protect yourself. Don't fall for the phishing sites. Don't give people your private keys.
Yeah, and it comes back to the community too. We need to make sure we're always reminding each other and educating each other about different issues and scams and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you have time for it, we have one more question from the chat. I'd love to ask
Absolutely.
you. Miss Cavs fan from the chat, she asked about block producers providing storage, which we know is put off until I believe the end of the year. There's no roadmap, so we don't know for sure. But
yeah, we're not sure when storage is going to show up.
Yeah, and she was asking, so this will be more speculative, but we do that a fair amount around here anyway. So,
yes.
Are you concerned about governments closing down a block producer because of what they are storing? This is a question that has come up a few times, but we'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, people are concerned about that, and rightly so. And my question is always, so if you took away blockchain from that equation, what happens in the world today? And, Dropbox and Google Drive and AWS and every other storage provider on the planet has these issues. And what happens is someone serves you with some sort of subpoena or search warrant or whatever, claims the file with this hash actually contains wicked bad things. And if, let's say you're in Wyoming and the Wyoming police come to you and say, hey, there's this file, we really need you to stop hosting it. You can stop hosting it. You're allowed to do that, I believe. My understanding of the compact, the agreement with block producers is you're expected to serve the chain and obey your local laws, both, to the best extent you can. And you would take the file down. Or you would, if you thought it was a free speech issue and you were going to, take a stand against oppression, maybe you'd keep it up and suffer the consequences. Maybe you're a conscientious objector. You want to engage in civil disobedience. I don't know. Most likely you take it down, and the interwebs being what they are, it would be hosted other places. And if it's a truly, truly very wicked file, then a lot of jurisdictions would say the exact same thing, and maybe it would be very hard or impossible to get to. And I will point out that I can't imagine how stupid you'd have to be to use an immutable blockchain to store something bad. It's like, why don't you just go down to the police station and hand yourself in right now? Say, I was thinking of posting this on a blockchain, but let's just cut to the chase. Here, arrest me. Come on.
Maybe that person hasn't heard of a USB stick.
It almost reminds me of Bitcoin was called the coin for criminals for a while, but then everybody realized the FBI is actually tracking Bitcoin transactions. Just
very, very well. Yeah, there's a wonderful, I can't remember her name now, but she was on a couple of episodes of Unchained and was interviewed. She had done prosecution of cyber crimes using the audit trails in Bitcoin, and they're apparently excellent evidence.
Sure.
Immutable blockchain. It's like, look at the cryptographic signatures. This isn't forgeable. And we captured his hard drive, and here's the private key that signed that transaction there. It's like, dude,
records don't get lost.
Yeah, of all the places to have evidence, a highly replicated, unforgeable, immutable blockchain is like the last place I want my fingerprints.
Right.
You know what's fun is that everybody loves a good, stupid criminal story, and we're going to have a few of those, I'm sure, on EOS in the future.
Oh, yes. Only a matter of time.
We'll have a good laugh, I'm sure, at some point in the future about some of these stories. So, yeah, thank you, as always, Thomas, for coming on.
What? That's it? We're done?
Well, I think so. Blue Jays, do you have any other questions there that I missed?
I think we asked most of them.
I think Anthony had a couple more we may be able to look at.
There was one I really wanted to jump on because I thought it was interesting, having to do with you have to file a fee when you file a grievance or an arbitration case. And the answer is yes. You will have to put down a deposit. And if your case is frivolous, you will lose it. And if your case is frivolous and abusive, you might actually get a counterclaim filed against you. So don't be stupid and don't abuse the system.
Okay, that's a good one. So to be clear on that one, that is for somebody who's initiating a claim versus a proposed bad actor.
Yep. If you need to file a dispute, there will be a filing fee. If you prevail, you'll almost certainly get it back. And a lot of disputes will be in between people who have a contract with each other, and the contract should say, X% of the value of this contract will go towards the fee for arbitration. Okay. So it's actually prepaid, and it just funds arbitration from that. So there's always skin in the game. You always want people to have skin in the game.
And what kind of fee, relatively wise, are we looking here?
Well, if you look off the blockchain, something like the Oregon Arbitration Association, there's a Portland arbitration group here where I live, and their default fee is like $600 to file.
Okay.
And I imagine we'll probably have some less expensive ones with volunteers running things for small dollar, but emotionally important to people disputes. And I was talking to a really interesting group, SageWorks. They have on Ethereum a software development kit that lets you build arbitration into your smart contracts in an automated way. And one of their people had worked on eBay, and eBay uses an artificial intelligent bot to handle the vast majority of arbitration cases. Like 95% are handled in an automated fashion without anybody like raising their hand and wanting to dispute it and take it. Because honestly, most so-called arbitration cases are going to be customer service issues.
Sure.
Like, oh, you're not happy. Okay, you're a merchant. You just spent $20 in advertising and marketing to get someone to work with you. They got $100 deal for their first purchase, and your lifetime value of that customer is going to be thousands of dollars from repeat purchases, and they're not happy. Are you going to fight them? Or are you going to do everything in your power to make them happy so that they are happy with you and come back and buy again? This is not a hard question. The vast majority of blockchain disputes in a governed blockchain will be handled amicably between the parties involved, because that's who we're going to attract.
So
that's the business we're going to have.
So even and you mentioned that they will be handled. Even the threat of taking something to arbitration could be a barrier, right?
Well, in the fact that you've got it available to you, it's like, look, hey, let's okay. If you're a developer, I want you to do a couple things. Number one is look at the Ricardian contracts video, so you understand how Ricardian contracts fit in with your smart contracts. And if you don't have that video, I will be sending it to Blue Jays and Kev here in about 5 minutes. Make sure that you've got a clear Ricardian contract that goes with your smart contract, so it's clear what the terms are. And include an action or a method in your contract where either of you can hit a button and say, invoke arbitration, which freezes the process and notifies an arbitrator. And you could even have a lower level one where you have like a customer service button where the person can hit that and just notify you that they're not happy.
Wow.
Build it in, people. Wow. Build it in.
That's wow. Huh. And actually Blue Jays and I were talking about that briefly going back a little bit in terms of people will always need a customer service. They'll need to call someone when it involves money, right? Do you foresee, and this is just a personal question, do you foresee any kind of like a banking service, a kind of a front line for customers who are working on the blockchain and they lose their access to their funds and their time lock is too confusing for them, and they'd be like a customer service person to call?
I think there will always be a place for making the user experience easier and making things smoother and better for a modest fee. So, between now and when the user interfaces are so easy that even grandma can't get it wrong, you'll probably find some services where they say, look, we know the blockchain's confusing, and for, $4.99 a month, we will, give you access to our chat bot and our email support and our bulletin board of answers and a vibrant community of users who will help you. et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in this enclave of merchant activity over here, where you may be, the Etsy of EOS, if you will.
Has a good ring to it. Yeah. I just realized as you were talking there in the last, I can see governing the commons there behind you on the bookshelf. It has migrated to the bookshelf now, so there it is.
Put it there on purpose so it'd be visible.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. It may be hard for the folks watching.
Posed it there. If you're not familiar with the cover, you're not going to recognize the little hands in a circle, paper cutouts. Like,
I don't know about you, but my cover completely wore off. I just use it so.
Yeah. I'm very, very gentle on books, so I might get a book cover for mine.
Nice.
Yeah, you'll also see Jordan Peterson's Maps of Meaning up above.
Sheldon will like that. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about a digital e-reader, Thomas?
I use the app from Amazon, so I've got it on my tablet and my laptop. Right. I don't have a standalone device because I've got enough screens, I guess.
Makes more sense. That way, when you're on the plane, you can bring your whole bookshelf with you.
Yes, it's so nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice.
Although, as we joke, you may be on the plane right now. We just can't totally tell.
He's got a green screen with his home office
right.
in the back. Right.
There's this humming in the background because all the engines are running.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you, Thomas. As always, we love talking to you, and of course, we get a lot of comments on your videos and your question and answers. People love hearing it from you. So, thanks again for coming on.
Well, I'll keep coming back until they're sick of me. How's that? I'll see you guys in a week, Monday. I should be in Blacksburg then, and I think the following Monday as well.
Okay.
Yes. In the meantime, if you have questions, obviously send them to Blue Jays and Kev, and they will collect them. If you have an urgent question, I'm happy to try my best on Telegram with those, or just post them in the dev channel or whichever channel is most appropriate. Gosh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention. Nope, I've lost it. We'll see if it comes back to me. Any closing thoughts from you guys?
Oh, we just wanted to thank you for coming on, and I know you have a whole bunch of meetups. Do you have all those in one place, Thomas, where people can look at those, where you're going to be?
I think they're all being organized through meetup.com. So if you go to meetup.com and search for EOS, which I think is like a magic topics key, you should find one near you if there is one. And if there's not, you should start one.
Yeah,
totally definitely. Start one. And if I can't travel to see you, I will I'll dial in on video and talk to your meetup if you'd like. I just did that for EOS Moscow on the 11th of April.
Wow.
I was going to do it for a group in the Ukraine on this coming Friday, except I'll be in the Philadelphia airport with 45 minutes to catch a flight and I don't think I can do a meetup under those circumstances. I was willing to try it, but it just didn't seem plausible. Yeah. So we're going to get David Moss to do the Ukraine meetup. I remember the other thing I was going to say. Several folks have asked for just short videos where I say hello to their group. So I did one for EOS Gravity and EOS Union and a couple of others. And I have my own YouTube little collection of hello videos now, welcoming people to the EOS community. And if you'd like one for you, I sent one, by the way, to EOS Go as well. I think you guys liked it.
Yes,
we loved it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good. Meant every word.
Okay.
So if folks would like a simple 1 to 2 minute long video from me saying hello to your group and welcoming you to the EOS community, I'd be delighted to make it. They will all have the same equally low video production quality because I'm going to be on the road, and you'll see whichever hotel room I'm in will be behind me, and it'll be whatever headset I have with me or whatever local microphone it is. But it will be heartfelt and it will be fast.
Thomas Cox, you're like the Walmart greeter of EOS.
I am the Walmart. Yes. I'll get a little vest.
We need to add that to your t-shirt collection of your meetups.
Not quite the glory I was aiming for, but at least it's useful. And if I can be useful to the community, it makes me happy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, safe travels this coming week as you're all over the place, and your roadie crew will have a hard time keeping up with you. So yeah. We'll see.
And in May, St. Louis, Detroit, Toronto, that's going to be awesome. And I'm looking forward to figuring out what we're doing on launch day. I think we're going to need to do some live streaming. Maybe someone who does. Oh, wait, maybe you guys would do a live stream.
We'd like to do
Something
that.
to think about.
Yeah.
So we'll have to kick that around offline.
Sounds good. We'll do so.
All right, I'm gonna run. Take care. Thanks.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah.
And thanks for the message.
Wow. Good stuff. Appreciate Thomas as always. He is a busy man, so the fact that he makes time for us and answers these questions, that's great.
He's got a green screen, and then he's got governing the comments on the green screen photoshopped right in there.
He made that request when he asked the production crew that was making his green screen photo. He's like, oh, wait. Governing the comments needs to be in the background.
Make sure they can see it.
He's got that microphone prop that he brings in. Look, I've got the standalone microphone.
So you're the last one on the plane. It's time to get off.
Yeah, right. He's in the back, right next to the bathroom there. I can see it. Anyway, so let's go to the news there, Blue Jays. We have a fair amount to talk about here.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's just do it straight off the bat. You ready? The price, the EOS price. We might as well talk about it. It was Tuesday. It was last Tuesday, shortly after the show probably, when the EOS price just shot through the roof. It went from, $6 to $9. We don't normally talk a lot of price on here. It's not really our goal. However, it was big news, 50% jump. What happened there, Blue Jays?
Okay, so there were a couple of rumors. A lot of people thought it had to do with the EOS stack airdrop. Airdrop.
Yeah.
It's just that word is just very, very, and there was also another rumor about a group in China, I believe, buying in. I believe it was Antpool. So that could have been a big volume and jump because of that. What were your thoughts about that?
I couldn't put a finger on it. I mean, I guess the EOS stack, I didn't realize EOS stack was quite as big, but when I started looking around more, I saw it in Medium articles, people referencing it all over the place. So apparently EOS stack had a wider reach, and there was actually a lot of confusion around EOS stack itself. People couldn't understand that there was like a new token being made instead of EOS and this and that. Of course, we're so insulated in our little ecosystem here, and we understand all the block producer stuff, and we know what EOS stack is trying to do. But 90%, 95% of people just don't fully understand it. So
was EOS stack was in our last show.
Oh yeah, so EOS stack, for those who are not familiar, they're a block producer candidate. They're decentralized, and they're offering they airdrops tokens. And by the way, we should say the airdrop is over. So if you missed it, unfortunately, you missed out. I understand that if you have under 100 EOS, you can still register, and go in there and get your EOS. Or get your EOS stack rather, excuse me. But go to their website. Basically, we're eosdac.io if you'd like to know more. But going back to the price, I mean, I feel like, so I'm this is not financial advice and all that kind of stuff. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Really, I don't. So when you see it crawling along, I just think about last October when it was 50 cents per EOS, right? And it was just crawling along at that 50 cents for a long time. And all of a sudden, kaboom, it exploded, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, I looked at $6 and it kept crawling along on $6. And I thought, you know what? I mean, I know nothing, but I think it might go up. So
yeah,
there we go. I mean, those are my in-depth technical analysis thoughts on the price.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what you're trying to say is the fan in us are thinking, wait, this is way too low. But yeah, I mean, there have to be certain catalysts, and another big catalyst was probably the release candidate one going out there as well too. And as you can see, like all of these people and projects are jumping on and developing on EOS, like we saw one today on our show. And if you haven't caught it, you should probably go back and check it on for the ONO project. So like you said, there's great talent out there. Couple of great people were on that team with amazing achievements, and it's just interesting to see all of these people jumping on the EOS project.
Yeah, and you said it really well. I mean, that's what I keep feeling the same way. And you look at all the brilliant people who are jumping in, and all the people who are dedicated to it. The dapp developers, the block producer candidates. Everyone sees this amazing opportunity for EOS, and in my mind, I look at it kind of like Warren Buffett says. He goes, I don't know where the price will be in 6 months, 12 months, but I do know in 20 years it'll be up. And crypto, you take everything and it's about divided by 10, right, in terms of the timeline. So, we don't know exactly. But basically, my theory and feeling is that long-term EOS will be up, right? And therefore, right now, it doesn't matter in my mind for the price.
And not only that, Kev, which I agree with, is that other projects are going to coexist in this space too. So there's going to be many projects like there's no this one's going to be the killer, Ethereum killer or whatever. I don't think that exists. Like Ivan said earlier on, it is an open market and there's place for multiple solutions.
Sure, absolutely. And so we'll go forward. Let's talk about Thomas's. We actually did not really even talk about this on the show with him, but his Article 2 of the Constitution came out. He put it on the forums, or the EOS Go forums, and he talked about property rights. And he went into a little bit more depth about the stolen bicycle analogy that he's made a couple times on the show, and just sort of talked about what property rights might look like in the Constitution of the EOS.io software. I know the folks were pretty interested in this, and he also put up another post talking about how to propose and critique a constitutional provision. So if you would like to provide some feedback in the making of the EOS.io Constitution, you should go onto the forums there and provide some feedback, follow his guidelines, figure out a way to get your voice heard. We've already seen a couple times now where Block One went ahead and made some changes after hearing some feedback from the community. Who knows how influential those voices were in the community. However, we saw the 6-month staking for voting. That was back when the tokens had to be staked for 6 months for voting, and you were then taken away. You didn't have bandwidth allocation rights as well. You had to vote only, which therefore lowered, or people thought would lower, the voter participation. So people were all up in arms about that. They said that has to be lowered. Voter participation will be way too low. It'll be too easy for big stakeholders to influence elections of block producers. And now we see it's only a 3-day staking time, and bandwidth can be used along with voting, so you can have both at the same time.
Excellent.
Where I'm going with all that is, if you have feedback for the Constitution or for anything, you should definitely make your voice heard. Follow the guidelines. That would certainly help, and go on the forums, and you can see all that there.
Yeah, the EOS Go forums at forums.eosgo.io have both those discussion items that we just mentioned.
Yeah, and let's go to the WAX token. I've already seen a couple folks ask about this, if we talked about it in chat there. The WAX token, they just announced today, I believe it was, they put out a long Medium article describing their thought process on how to find, or where to find, a base platform for their blockchain. And they have it settled on EOS. And they have they put out this little table showing their research results. They compared, looks like it's Neo, Arc, EOS, Tendermint, Lisk, and NEM, and they were looking for a DPoS chain specifically, they said, which I don't know if they fully explained why, but long story short is they had multiple criteria talking about consensus and whether there's support for custom DPoS, which they were very interested in. So the long story short is they are making their own custom version of the EOS chain to support their needs. It sounds like maybe they'll have their own block producers. It won't actually be on the EOS chain because they will make modifications to the software. But have you followed up on this? Have you looked into it? It's pretty new.
It's very new. I took a look at it, and I'd like to reserve my judgment until I get to read a little bit more about it. But it does sound, it's exactly what the EOS.io software is written for, is for these custom cases, and more power to them and good luck to them.
Yeah, and I'm about to post the link here in the chat for folks who want to read directly from Wax Token. The actual Wax Token, I don't know much about it, but I can say here's an interesting part from their article. It says, based on their evaluation criteria, EOS is the best fit for the implementation of the Wax Token, while also being one of the most popular platforms with high number of contributors and release frequency. And EOS allows Wax DPoS implementation largely through configuration of small code modifications. So EOS provides a good framework to implement the Wax smart contracts and transactions.
Are they respecting the distribution?
They didn't mention any of that, and I'm guessing maybe not. They probably, let's see here if there's anything about that. The ERC20 Wax token. So they already have an ERC20 token in use. Let's see, we've selected a base variant. So EOS does not support all the features of the Wax token platform, including guilds and voting mechanisms for dispute resolution and others. Some of those things could be coming, as we've talked with Thomas about. So they look forward to working. They're actually working with the EOS core development team, it says, to accelerate the deployment of the Wax platform. So perhaps it's a collaboration. It looks like it's some parts both. They're helping Block One, it sounds like they're implying in their article, while also building their own version of the software. And I think we know, or we've heard that Block One, I know back on a while ago on their website, they talked about providing consulting services for the EOS.io software would be one of their features or focuses in the future. Of course, the websites have changed so much that I don't know if that's still true. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, why not? If they're not busy working on groundbreaking software, they should definitely consult on how to use the ones that they've already produced. So, yeah, I think it would be if they didn't have any other projects they were working on, like, and definitely part of their team would definitely be a team like that. So,
and Brendan has actually talked about Brendan Bloomer, the CEO of Block One, when he was in chat. I believe it was almost a week ago now. He was talking about how they're still almost in a kind of a startup phase, right? And they're growing, expanding very rapidly, and so therefore there are some growing pains. And they're still hiring. They're still bringing on lots of people to help with these kind of things when it comes to consulting or so on and so forth. They don't want to take away from the core team that is actually developing the software. Yeah. They just want to have a good consulting arm, I would assume, although we are just making assumptions at this point about what they might be doing. So let's go forward. We'll talk to, or no, not talk to, we're going to talk about the AskBlockone series that Thomas Cox mentioned. So they put out their first version in terms of the actual answers. What they're doing every week is they're taking questions. You do a hashtag AskBlockone on Twitter, on your Twitter account, and then you ask your question, and then they're going to collect them and then answer them in their Medium post or on their Medium. And let's go ahead and go through what they answered here. We have the link. Hang on one second here. Let's get it pulled up. So they post it through their Medium blog, the Block One Medium blog. And so the introduction to blockchain, that video by Dan Larimer, they released that to the public, and that was a very professionally produced and shot video. So the sound is great, the audio is great, the video, the lighting is excellent, and of course Dan's presentation is really good. So he goes through multiple use cases for the blockchain and what it is actually capable of, and how EOS IO software is going to be the software that can actually do a lot of these things that we've seen promised about blockchain. One very interesting example that I've seen sort of pinging around is his example about taxes. And he does this funny thing where he talks about, he says, you know, death. Benjamin Franklin has this quote about how nothing in life is certain except death and taxes. And then Dan goes to the next slide and says, well, let me do something about taxes. Something along those lines, right? So if you haven't seen that video, you should go watch it because it's great. And then he goes through how he would take apart on a blockchain-based government currency. He would take, or he proposes rather, that the government should take a part of that inflation and directly just give it to themselves, right? And instead of having the IRS or whatever your tax revenue arm is in your country, or whatever country this would be, basically instead of having all these different reporting things in it, you could eliminate a lot of overhead. Long story short, eliminate a lot of overhead in terms of you could take part of the inflation directly from the block. Everybody could audit it as well. So when it comes to government spending, we hear a lot of complaints from citizens usually about how the government's using the money. Well, the citizens could all go in on a blockchain-based currency and they could look and see exactly, well, this money went over here. You know, it's more auditable, and therefore the government could be a lot more efficient, is one of the points Dan is making. And of course, as we talked about already, the overhead would be drastically reduced in terms of reducing, you know, having to file taxes. All that stuff would be eliminated because the taxes would be taken out before you ever get paid directly from your employer, because the government's just taking a part of the inflation. So what are your thoughts on that, Blue Jays? I don't know if I did a great job explaining it. You should definitely go watch the video from Dan. He does a great job with the slide and explains all the points.
Yeah, I will definitely I heard he did a great job on that presentation. I will take a look at that presentation for sure.
Yeah, and so the other questions on the AskBlockone.
I did see one, Kevin, that was interesting. What programming languages are required to build full operation dapps on EOS.io software? So obviously the major one with the smart contracts are written in C++. And on the website, they use the EOS.js library. And they're also using React.js and Node.js as well too. So those are all available on the GitHub for you to go in and take a look at from the latest release candidate one.
Yeah, and there's also another question about any suggestions for coming up to speed on the code quickly. And we won't go through all these questions because you can go on the AskBlockone, the Medium post, and look through all of them yourself. But they basically talk about how there's the wiki. It's located in the primary EOS.io repository, which if you have not read the wiki in the repository for EOS.io, you should go take a look at it. There's a lot more information in there that is not in the white paper. And of course, it's up to date, completely up to date. So make sure you check that out. And you can also look at their Stack Exchange and so on and so forth. So anyway, go take a look at the AskBlockone series. It looks to be very interesting. It's great to hear from the development team directly. And now we have multiple ways to get in touch with them, right? Because Dan loves to come on and do great Q&A sessions. Usually on Sundays is when he especially comes on, but he does it all throughout the week as well. Whenever he's probably relaxing with a do, as we like to joke about.
Right.
So he comes on a lot, and now you can also ask more formal questions of Block One through Twitter as well for folks who don't use Telegram, and that's pretty cool. So let's go over to, looks like Meetups. Time for some talk about Meetups. So we have a new block producer portal website, and I believe it's new as of, yes, it is new as of this week. It was not live last week during the show. So the block producer portal, it allows block producers to go in there and submit their own listing. So they have their own page, and you as a voter or community member can go in and research your block producers. Makes it very easy, and you're hearing directly from them. They can list all their sources, all their websites and materials and community projects. Everything is listed right there on the page that they make. And there's also a world map that shows all the folks or all the different candidates on the map, so you can see how they're distributed. It's pretty cool. We're very proud of it. EOS Asia, actually the newly announced EOS Asia, Joe from them, he helped us build that portal, and we are very thankful to Joe. He helped us as a community benefit project, and then handed over the keys so that we can sort of maintain it for independence and neutrality for the community. So thank you, Joe, very much.
Yes, thank you, Joe, very much. And Kev, just to add to that, we can add meetup listings to that as well too. So please forward us your meetup listings or go on the site and add them. That's something that you can do there already. So we just also wanted to give a shout out to Barcelona, who's following us, and also gathering more momentum out in Barcelona, Spain. So I hope you guys get your EOS meetup together, and when you do, please let us know, and we'll announce it when it's ready. And good luck for you there. As Thomas mentioned earlier, you could just go on to meetup.com, and type in that keyword EOS. So if you're ever interested in what kind of EOS is in your area, just go there. And if it's not there, just start one up as well too.
Yeah, and you with going back to the block producer portal, thank you for getting to the point, which was there's a meetup section as well. So, I got way off track, as I often do, as you know. And so the whole point I was trying to make, the meetup section is great. You can it doesn't matter if you're not a block producer, you can actually post your meetup on there and make your own page for your meetup on this portal, and it's bp.eosgo.io. And I just put it in the chat, the link there. So take a look, and if you have a meetup, please post it. And also you can keep track of the ones coming up. And of course, Thomas has already talked about all the ones he's doing. There are so many of them. And so EOS governance. There's actually the building an MMO game on EOS blockchain coming up the 19th here. That's going to be this coming Thursday. I think it's SF EOS. Let's see who's putting this on here. That's hosted by EOS Detroit. The SF EOS crew. It's a 100% player-run economy blockchain game and a DAC that will be owned and operated entirely by those who choose to adventure, explore, and pioneer in this ongoing epic. I'm just reading directly from their listing page on the website for the meetup. So if you want to learn more about that, and if you're in Detroit, there you go. Stop on by.
I believe SFEO's updates is in our chat room as well too. So if you have any questions for them, let them know.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for
tuning in.
Yeah. So any other meetups we should know about Blue Jays? I know Thomas talked about a lot. It sounds like Dallas is having one this coming week. Austin as well. You heard Thomas. Yeah. We missed here.
A lot of momentum building. A lot of getting up close to launch, Kevin. So it's good. It's a great time. I know. I think you'll be heading over to one in Charlotte soon, and I'll be doing one probably in Sarasota. So if you guys are in town, let us know, and then you can come and meet us.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I've talked about this before, but hanging out with EOS fans is one of my favorite things. It's really fun. Just the enthusiasm and the questions, and everybody just feels the excitement of something that is going to be big, right? And something that'll be world-changing.
Yeah.
And we all feel the same way. And folks who are still learning, also, it's great to try and answer these questions. And furthermore, it's also great to hear from the perspective of someone who's still learning, because the learning curve is so big, and it is easy for us to forget how big that learning curve actually is. I've mentioned before how it took me 3 solid days of just wrapping my head around everything, and why is the token worthless, and all these questions. And once it finally clicks, it goes, whoa, yeah. So
yep. I still remember trying to figure out Steam it. I don't get it. And then it just took, a while. So
yeah, when you first start getting into cryptocurrency, of course, you inevitably run across a couple of Steemit posts. I remember my first few, right? And you're going, up $400 for this page? What is going on here? So it is a little hard to wrap your mind around at first. And education will always be key. That'll be one of our primary goals going forward. And speaking of going forward, what are your thoughts of the week, Blue Jays?
I really don't have any thoughts of the week. It was a down week for me. I went out for the weekend a little bit, and I just I kicked back and had a little relaxation there. So I'm getting back into it. I see the boot up process that's being talked about. Stuff's getting pretty serious and down into the nitty gritty. Like that boot up process is interesting, and it's very technical, and it shows how much thought has gone behind the proper and the healthy boot up of this network. And I think that has kind of opened my eyes to launch day even again. So that's my thought.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean, in my mind too, we have to focus on the launch, right? It's starting to come up. I believe we're 7 weeks away, or less than 7 weeks away now. So there is a lot that still needs to happen in terms of trying to make sure the community knows what's going on, and just trying to educate everybody and learn about how to vote, what needs to happen on launch day, what you need to do to ready, all this kind of stuff. One of our primary goals will be to help everybody learn about that stuff. So it doesn't matter whether we make the educational materials ourselves, or if someone does a great job, like EOS Canada has produced a couple of good things, we'll help spread the word about it. Of course, we're non-partial, we're neutral. We just want to make sure everybody can understand what's going on. And there's been a lot of great materials put out. The video series so far has been it's been enlightening. It's been great. So of course, follow along with those and with that. And block producers in general, I've noticed that they're starting to get more and more serious. New announcements that we see, the posts are far more detailed than we've sometimes seen in the past. I think everybody's kind of learning from each other and improving, which is the whole idea behind competition, and of course, in a free market. So it's fun to watch this whole evolution. And of course, there's a lot more to see coming up. So we'll do our very best for everybody who's watching, and everybody else in the community. EOS Go will always try as hard as we can to make sure everybody's up to date as to what's going on. And of course, reach out if you have any questions, or if you want to see something from us, or if you have any suggestions for improvements, let us know. And furthermore, last thing I'd like to mention is we're always looking for help as well. So if you'd like to write an article, if you have insights into how the launch might look, or if you would like to help educate the community and you want to spread your work out, you've seen us do this before with like Andrew M. from EOS Atlanta. He wrote that amazing article about how to own your EOS on launch day. And of course, Katie Roman writes incredible articles. So if you would like to produce some material and then release it for EOS Go, we can help you get the word out for those who are not necessarily running for block producer, or they just want to make sure that their work gets known. So that's kind of those are my thoughts of the week, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Cool. Well, for everyone else, thanks for everything. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel, and also follow us on Twitter. Last things I'd like to say is also thanks to Katie Roman and Top K-Pop, who are in the chats for moderating. They do a fabulous job, and if it wasn't for them, I don't know if we'd be able to put on the show. Thanks, guys and gals.
Definitely. Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yeah. And of course, as always, go EOS.
Go EOS. Good night, guys.
See ya.